welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. It is Friday, the 30th of October, 2020. So it's 30/10/2020. Quite cute. Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. We talk about Islam, we focus on Islam, and we are live every Friday, 8 p.m. UK time. We go live for about 2 hours and we discuss different things, and then we go to the Discord server to chat amongst other people and with about things that if somebody doesn't want to go and be recorded here, we go to the Discord chat, which is private. We have the chat, we have people in the comments watching live. Welcome to everybody. And we have a full panel tonight with people who are actually going to contribute something today here on the panel, and I hope it's a lot. And I want to welcome Rob and Thunder and Smart Cat. And just as a reminder, Smart Cat is a Muslim who is available, who has made himself available to us to discuss Islam from his point of view. And I want to say thank you for that. I think this is really a great thing. But it shows that, you know, if you're not afraid, if you're not afraid to use your brain, you can realize that what we're trying to do is actually, what I always say, help Muslims and non-Muslims alike to understand and handle Islam in the 21st century. So welcome everybody in the panel. Smart Cat, have you sorted yourself out? Are you okay? Say hi to
Hello,
everybody.
everybody. Yes, I think you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, brilliant.
All right. Good afternoon,
Super.
good evening, good morning to wherever you are in the world.
Great stuff.
Hey,
Thank
Smart
you,
Cat.
Smart Cat.
Hi,
Thunder,
Smart
you
Cat.
next?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to my co-panelists, Stops and Robs, and also our special guest this evening, Smart Cat. Certainly welcome and appreciate you on the show as well. And to the whole listening audience in a packed full, eventful week that we've had in the past week in the world.
Yeah, I echo that with my co-panelist and our guest. Good evening and welcome to the show.
And what we always do is, well, we make a statement where we stand, what we do, what we don't do, what we are and what we are not. So like I said, we help Muslims and non-Muslims alike to understand and handle Islam in the 21st century. We inspect, investigate, analyze, research, and then report and critique. And it's usually on the non-spiritual side, because we all understand if somebody wants to have an afterlife, or the idea that something should carry on or continue after they die, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And this kind of a belief is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the political side of Islam, because unlike other religions like Christianity or Judaism or whatever, there is no separation between state and religion. So what we do is we go live once a week, and if you want to comment, question, or you're simply curious, then you've come to the right place when it's something regarding Islam. Now we try and be as objective as possible. So we don't attack, which is aggressive and destructive, and we don't try and antagonize Muslims or something. What we do is we look at the claims and we analyze the claims and then respond to those. And we ask questions and we show facts and we refute false claims and present the reality of Islam. And this is mostly political Islam. And what we do is we do embrace free speech here and free criticism and free expression and things like that. And you are more than welcome to critique us. If it is factual and constructive criticism, it's actually welcome, because we're nice people, I think. Okay, so we condemn any abuse, oppression, misogyny, slavery, violence, things like that. And we try and let the Quran speak for itself, and we only go to Hadith or the scholars or something if it's really necessary. So the live stream goes to YouTube and to Facebook. YouTube, it's the Gin and Tonic Show. Facebook, Gin and Tonic Show, and on Free Speech what's it called? Speakers Corner Free Speech. There you go. So if you want to you join us, or if you want to comment, you can do this in the chat while we're live. You can join here, the panel. If you want to say something, just make yourself known and tell us, I want to come on and talk about X. Then we will make this available. Send you the link. Come on here, talk to us. No problem. We don't bite. We're always interested in listening to other people, and that's cool. So the whole thing is free. So we're not asking people to go to Patreon or PayPal or whatever to fund us or something. No, this is a free service. We're doing this just out of goodness. And with that, we're going to turn to today's episode, because what we do is each show consists of different elements. Okay, so we always start off with this introduction to show people who we are. Then we go to the news, then we have some crazy comments, then we have a section on the Quran, and then the theme of the month, which has been, for the last couple of months, the Dawah in Action theme, which has culminated now in the critique of videos made by Dawah proponents. And I can already see that people are getting tired of this, so I think maybe we should take a break next week, do something different. Now, if you want a different theme, you are more than welcome to propose it. If you want to have us do something, or if you're interested in a specific area of Islam, you are more than welcome to ask. And even better, if you have an area of knowledge that is specialized in some way, you're more than welcome to come on here and give us a presentation about this, so that we learn something as well. So it's not just us talking at people, but that we also have a dialogue, that we also talk amongst ourselves about problems. Because come on, we don't know everything. I'm just a dude who read the Quran, and that's it. So I'm always looking to enlarge in my knowledge base. So if somebody wants to come on here and hold a statement or make a presentation or something, more than welcome to do so. All right, with that, let's go to the first segment, which is Islam. I'll start it off and then hand it over to the panel, because a lot has happened in the last 1 or 2 weeks, mainly due to the anniversary of Charlie Hebdo in Paris, which is a satirist magazine. And what they do is they have their own approach towards figures, be it political, be it religious, be it whatever. So they try and take elements of something and then ridicule it, mock it. And that is all they do. And they're doing this very, very well. The only problem is that there are a lot of Muslims who don't take kindly to this when it is not against Jews, but against Muhammad. And this is where the problem comes in, because Charlie Hebdo did this about Muhammad. They had this topic on frequently. And for some odd reason, Muslims don't have the tolerance or the thick skin or the whatever it takes to handle this sort of thing and go crazy. Now, I'm in a discussion with somebody right now who says, yeah, but how can you be for free speech? Do you think it's okay to mock people and to mock things? And I said to him, absolutely. Because if I say something, I cannot know how a person on the other side of the world is going to interpret what I am saying, because the recipient always assigns a meaning to the words. I'm just using words as a container, and the recipient then puts them together. Now, if I say boo, this doesn't mean anything. But in another country, in another place, in another culture, this can mean something, and I'm not even aware that I have just, insulted or made a million people feel uncomfortable just because I said boo. And I'm always doing this with the hand signals, where a thumbs up in some countries means something positive, and a thumbs up in other countries, like in Iran, for example, is something, a real insult. This is a fuck you, the billah. And I cannot know that. So if I say something in my culture where it is okay to say Muhammad was somebody who married a 6-year-old girl. Now, if I point that out and I then say, well, I don't find that in any way moral, I cannot know that there is some idiot in Yemen or somewhere who will say, oh my God, how can he say this about my prophet? But I love him so much, and now he's telling me that he did this. Yes, that is the way that it works. And if you can't handle it, well, then please don't listen. So I am saying it is perfectly okay to do that. And it's 100% legitimate for anybody to say anything that they want if they don't, but we have the defamation laws, so we don't need to go into this. Everything is in place and we don't need anything in addition. But because Muslims are so sensitive, they have been going crazy and they are now killing people just because somebody put some strokes of a pencil on a piece of paper. And this, I don't understand. Now, if I read the headlines now, more terror attacks, anger rises, protests intensify in Muslim world over Muhammad cartoons. This is crazy. And it's now going like, and as anti-Macron, who is the president in France, and anti-France, where Muslims are saying, because France has freedom of speech, they should be boycotted. And now I'm going to keep quiet and let you discuss this.
Yes,
I would like to say a few things, but I don't want to interrupt anybody. If anybody has something else to add, I'm willing to hear it as well.
No, it's fine. You go start. We don't have any order. That's why I didn't say you first. I said just discuss.
Okay, I'll just leave the floor open for any additional comments. I just need 1 minute. I'm walking into my house.
okay. Then I think I'll go first. I think it's been an interesting week as far as violence and Islam is concerned. We had the incident in Hyde Park, Hyde Park Speaker's Corner, where Hatun was violently abused, rendering her apparently unconscious. Well, whether she was rendered unconscious or not, it's not the issue really in Hyde Park and free speech. And I'm a little bit concerned as to how things are going to develop there, because the Speaker's Corner has been pretty much I don't know for how many decades, but I'm sure it's over 100 years, where people can go and voice their opinion over any subject with impunity and not fear of any reprisal. And that's been pretty much a tradition of the United Kingdom. And now we're finding that Islam is slowly appearing in these corners and almost taking control of how freedom of speech is now interpreted, that there are going to be curbs, or is this situation with Houghton going to develop into something where even now free speech is not exactly free speech in Speaker's Corner? So it's not just the violence on Houghton, but also the developments in France, where Islam insulted or perceived as being insulted, as now 4 people are dead. Or was it 2 people dead and 2 people stabbed? I'm not sure what the stats are at the moment, but it was interesting because the Yasser Qadhi uploaded a video in his reaction to that, which was it's uploaded on my channel, which is quite an emotional rant. And you'll notice when you listen to it that most of, about 80-90% of the rant that he went on, quite emotional, was more attacking France and their history, which I felt had nothing to do with the incidents taking in France, and almost like saying, well, because Algeria was a part of the French colony, colonized by the French however many years ago, that somehow there was a justifiable reaction. Or if not a justifiable reaction, then France is in no position to comment, and it would be hypocrisy on their part to comment over the beheadings of people in France, considering its actions over in Algeria. At the same time, Faker Naik, everyone's favorite non-scholar and non-debater in India, he too uploaded a video with reactions to what's taken place in France. He too seemed to almost word for word, script for script, repeat exactly what Yasser Qadhi had been saying about Algeria and the history of France. That has nothing to do with what's taken place in France. He too has uploaded his own interpretation, though albeit somewhat very similar to Yasser Qadhi's. And I couldn't help but thinking that how Islam, when the religion of peace goes on a violent rampage, killing, and you don't find any reaction from Muslim communities, Muslim scholars, apart from the normal default, yeah, we condemn it, but they don't really mean it kind of comments that you find in the news. I forget what the little parasite is, the Ramadan Foundation, what his name is. He was commenting as well, basically blaming France for what's happened to them. But the Muslim world was in uproar. You'll see protests and marches from Pakistan to Indonesia and other locations, all in protest of the cartoons, though nobody wanted to seem to say anything about the murders that are taking place in France. So from the Muslim point of view, it's okay to kill, but it's not okay to mock. That's the attitude. And this goes back to what I've been saying for years, time and time again. Islam is defined not by Muslims, but by the Quran and Hadith. So in effect, when you consider that Muhammad murdered his critics, which is recorded in their own sources, and you find critics of Islam murdered, in effect, what you're seeing is true Islam. You're not seeing fakers. Fake Islam are those peaceful guys that you work with. You know, they have nice families and they speak to you nicely. Because I remember having this conversation with Stops many years ago. I think it was 2016, where we were discussing, I don't know if you remember, Stops, about your friends, are they good Muslims because they're nice and polite? And I responded by saying, no, they're not good Muslims. If they're friends of yours, they are not. The Quran defines a person who's a friend of a Jew or a Christian as a hypocrite and is like the unbeliever. So when you're looking at murders taking place and you're looking at violent reactions and you look at people being abused or murdered for using their free speech in a country, which is interesting because these people are not indigenous. So they're in effect coming to your home and telling you how to speak in your home and then violent reacting against you in your own home. Now, you wouldn't normally tolerate that in your own home in a physical sense, in your house where you live at your address. Yet in your own country, by implication, that's in effect what they are doing. And to have a violent reaction like that is nothing but contemptible. So this whole, it's interesting as well to notice that India, that has many commercial links with the Muslim world, has actually stood and aligned itself with France on this. I thought that was quite an interesting development as a reaction. So that's what I've got to say so far. I'm disgusted and appalled, but I'm not surprised. As an ex-Muslim that's grown up with the Quran and Hadith and listening, growing up in the Muslim community, this, I've been saying it for years, more so since the Salman Rushdie affair, this is Islam. What you're witnessing, what you're reading, what you're looking at is Islam. Those Muslims that you live next door to, those Muslims that you work with, those Muslims that you may go talk to football about with, those are not Muslims that are condemning this. Those are hypocrites and fake Muslims by the sources themselves. That's where I stand.
Rob?
Maybe SmartCat wants to respond or say something.
Yeah, thank you, guys. A few thoughts from a Muslim's perspective on recent current affairs. From the Pacific to the Atlantic, I feel like there's been an utter failure within the Muslim community, within the Muslim religious community, within the Muslim secular community, within the Muslim intellectual community, in that they are not seeing what it is for what it is and allowing, quote unquote, the mob, the Islamic mob, to take control of the narrative. I find it one part ridiculous, one part hilarious, and one part just baffling, because if somebody came up to me as a Muslim and drew a cartoon character and said, this is your prophet, and doesn't matter what he depicts it, he could come up with Mickey Mouse and say, this is your prophet. If I reply in a sense, how dare you insult my prophet, I just, indirectly validated his depiction of the prophet. So this whole fiasco can be averted by just saying, well, they're drawing cartoon characters, but those cartoon characters are not our prophet. But it's ironic in the sense that the same people who are protesting, who are upset, wouldn't consider their prophet to be depicted in a negative light, are protesting, a non-Muslim's depiction of a prophet, which they may perceive as in a negative light. And it's validating their perception. through the reaction that they are giving, the angry reaction that they're giving. I mean, as a Muslim, if I was engaging with non-Muslims in terms of depicting the Prophet Muhammad, I would be like, well, you can claim that this is a depiction of the Prophet Muhammad, but it is not a depiction of the Prophet Muhammad, because I don't recognize this cartoon character as Prophet Muhammad. And you're not winning points with Muslims and the Muslim community if you do depict the Prophet Muhammad in the way that you claim you do, but you're free to do so. But I'm not going to react in an angry fashion or an angry manner, because it's validating their depiction. So I just think it's an utter failure on Muslim leaders all over the world, religious, non-religious, for not looking at the narrative and trying to take control of it. I mean, right now they're boycotting French cheese and French wine. Is ineffective. It's stupid, in my humble opinion, and it's a horrible event. And you know, to say that Muslims, it shows to me that the Muslim leadership is either extremely juvenile in its perceptions of what's going on, or they are using this as a pretext to garner support within Muslim communities, because it's not the secular governments that are condemning this. I mean, the only one that I can think of is the Turkish government, and he's positioning himself as somewhat of an Islamic reformist in the Middle East. But Turkey is officially a secular state, but like countries like the governments of Egypt, Algeria, and many other, you know, secular republics in the Muslim world, or quasi-democratic monarchies in the Muslim world, are somewhat mute to this. But their muteness is unacceptable in this situation. I think there needs to be you know, a strong counterbalance to what is going on. I don't think that Muslims should cede this ground to what I see as Islamists in the Muslim world, because it's a bad decision, and I think it's a complete failure in leadership in the Muslim world that these things are happening. As for the attacks in Europe, you know, I think there should be no flexibility. I think they should be persecuted to the fullest extent of the law, without hesitation, without faltering, without anything. These acts are simply unacceptable, and it just demonstrates the failure of the Muslim community to educate its members in what the Western world sees as a fundamental right for every person, not for specific people, and that's the right for freedom of expression. You know, it's a big loss for the Muslim community, and yeah, that's all I have to say about that in current global events. And as for Hatun being attacked in Speaker's Corner, I just think there needs to be something that happens in Speaker's Corner where you know, maybe more police presence, an unbiased police presence that enforces security. And I think it's a lack of security and from local authorities and understanding what they're doing. I mean, Thunderous was saying this is similar to the Rushdie affair. I think he's right. I mean, he grew up in the country, so he's probably seeing echoes from the past in this. And you know, there needs to be a serious dialogue within the Muslim community. It's kind of funny because it reminds me, like I'm pretty sure every Muslim or ex-Muslim who's grown up in the Muslim community can remember an individual that, you know, would go up to them and be like, you know, if you love God and his messenger, you know, let me borrow your bike, or can I have a bag of chips, or donate to a specific cause. There's always that one character that goes around saying, if you love the prophet and the messenger, you would do this or you would do that, right? And usually it's a, you know, juvenile, self-serving motive. But you know, I think every Muslim and ex-Muslim knows that type of guy that they've dealt with in their past. And you know, this is essentially the Islamic Islamists' position. If you love God and the messenger, you're going to go outside and protest and burn pictures and boycott French cheese, and it's extremely unacceptable for me, to say the least.
Have you heard the reaction by Yasser Qadhi? Because to me it just sounds like whataboutism. But have you come across the reaction from scholars?
Stops you a bit soft, eh?
Am I saying
Need to sit
whataboutism,
up.
or the scholars are coming up with whataboutism, like the Algerian example?
Exactly, yeah. So you also see that. Okay. All right,
No,
Rob?
I just don't see a connection. I mean, to justify, you know, to say that it's okay for French Muslims to act reckless because France colonized Algeria, I see absolutely no connection. Like no connection. You know, it's like saying, you know, I'm a gangbanger in America because of slavery. It's, you know, it has no connection to your current existence or experience. You know, it's to me, it's unacceptable as well.
Can I just add on that? When the comparison was made with Algeria and almost some kind of perverted rationalization and justification for the actions, I did think to myself, well, what's your cutoff point with history then, as far as this is concerned? If you're going to refer to France colonizing Algeria and the plight of Muslims at the time in Algeria because of the presence of France, fine, there may well have been unjustifiable acts done by the French. But if you're going to relate history as a justification, well, for me then, and if I didn't have the faith that I have in what I believe now, as a former atheist, so evolutionist, and a belligerent 20-year-old that I was, my reaction would have been, okay then, all the Hindus, all the Jews, all the Christians, and all the atheists should all align together, and all the Zoroastrians and all the pagans should align together and wipe out every Muslim from the face of this planet in justification for the past 1400 years of misery this religion has brought on the planet. Then, if you're going to start using history as a justification, we've got a greater moral right to argue against you using your line of reasoning, okay, than what you have against the rest of the world, the rest of the kuffar world. And when going back to freedom of speech, and I've said this countless times to the point of tears, that if you're going to start deriding, mocking, or playing the victim card because of some cartoons, there is no greater wicked, vile, despicable, contemptible piece of literature on this planet than the one that is called the Quran. When you're calling non-Muslims the worst of creatures, meaning that every person that does not say Allahu Akbar is worse than the little parasite worm that hangs around dog feces. If you're saying I am less than that, and you have no choice but to agree with it because you're a Muslim and you have to agree with every word that your Allah says, then what does that say about your Quran? If we want to ban literature, we start with the Quran, because the Quran has been saying it a lot longer than Charlie Hebdo has been saying it.
Well, I think what you're arguing from is, you know, a revenge perspective. You know, they did something bad to us. Let's do something bad to them.
No, I was using the same line of reasoning as Zakir Naik and Yasser Qadhi. They're the two I've listened to, but I dare say there are plenty more scholars that are in agreement with them. Okay, so if you're going, if the scholars for dollars and the Muslims are going to cite France's the French presence in Algeria as some kind of rationalization and justification for the violence that's been inflicted on the Muslim community in France, or the pressure, or whatever, or the mocking, and you're going to play the victim card, and you're going to use history to support the justification, then all non-Muslims have a greater moral, if you like, shout for a moral accountability from the Muslim world for the 1400 years of tyranny.
Okay, all right, I understand what you're trying to say. I don't agree with Yasser Qadi or Zakir Naik. Like I said earlier, I have no idea for the life of me why they would bring up domestic French history to justify anger towards France. To me, this is, textbook Islamist pandering to extremely juvenile mentality within the Muslim world, and it's appealing to, I would say, a low brainwave of individuals. Like, this is like I heard what he said. It was very painful to watch what he said, because I'm looking at it like, well, you're in a position of power. You can easily articulate the points that I made earlier in this video. It's not like you've never heard of it. It's not like I'm an originator. It's not like I'm a maverick in thinking, but that's the problem. The Islamic leadership, or the so-called religious leadership, they're not thinking. They're reacting in a very, pardon the pun, in a very cartoonish manner. If somebody comes up to you and says, "This is Abraham Lincoln," and it's a stick figure, and let's just say you really, really like Abraham Lincoln, if you get mad, you're basically validating my drawings. So that's the whole point that I'm trying to say. I can't, for the life of me, understand why these so-called leaders can't see it that way.
I think, if you don't mind me saying that, Smart Guy, I think the problem you've got there is that when you look at what Zakir Naik, Yasser Qadi, and all the other scholars for dollars are saying, if you listen to the rhetoric of Ali Dawah, Mo Hijab, and this other guy that was in America saying they're doxing somebody or other, you're finding that their behavior matches the personality of the Prophet. That's why they're not coming out condemning it, because it's got so far now that, for me, the way I perceive it now, if they come out and say this is against Islam, it's bringing reproach on Islam, I don't think anybody's buying it anymore. The information about Islam, the knowledge about Islam, the personality of Islam, the text of Islam, and the lies of Islam trying to cover up this mess, nobody's buying it anymore. You'd have to abandon the person who believes anybody that says Islam is a religion of peace as being stupidly perverse or hopelessly ignorant, and I say that in the possible way. But allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. So nobody's buying that anymore. So if you've got scholars coming out saying this is intolerable, it's bad, blah blah blah, I don't think anybody's going to buy it, because now we've got access to 1400 years of information. We've also got information, 50 odd years, and I will recall back to Ahmad Didat, who I grew up with, right, of lies, chicanery, smoke screens, and deceptions and sophistry. Islam has been proven wrong historically. Islam has been proven wrong scientifically. Islam has been proven wrong morally. Now Islam has been proven wrong with its statement that the Quran has never been, if you like, changed. Not one dot is perfectly preserved. Nothing about Islam has proven true now from all of its claims. Nobody's buying it anymore. So if Islam comes out and says it's a religion of peace, this is intolerable, people are going to look at the Quran and say, you're lying. So now Islam has no choice but to turn around and say, right, we've now got to try and justify the violence by saying something that people in the world are going to accept, but not too much. Not too much. This is probably as close as it's going to get to an acceptance by Muslim scholars that this violence by Islam is justification. The interesting thing is, though, I look at it, I've always looked at this from a historical point of view. Maybe another time in another show, I'll get the opportunity to expand on this. But I'll always ask the question, from people who allow Muslim immigration into their countries, you've known this for 1400 years. I sometimes suspect that the way that the world is now, in every country Islam is present, you have this problem. And I can't ever think you've done this deliberately to get where we are now, that this has all been some kind of master plan, because you do not get this from Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Zoroastrians, Christians, atheists, agnostics, or evolutionists. You do not get this from anybody. You only get this from Islam, and you get it everywhere on this planet. That's too much for coincidence to me.
When you say Islam is a religion of peace, I got to be honest with you. The first time I ever heard that Islam is a religion of peace, I heard it from George W. Bush shortly after 9/11. And, the Muslim Brotherhood.
That's funny.
And honestly, that's the first time I ever heard it. But I mean, the Muslim Brotherhood and Emirate states, they ran with it. They loved that, So, I don't know what point you're trying to make. I don't go around saying that Islam is a religion of peace, because I don't think Islam is a religion of peace, because I don't think that's an authentic statement. I think that's a modern statement that the times have ran with. Friends and foes alike. They friends of Islam, they use it to cast Islam in a bad light, and the enemies of Islam, they use it as a meme, as mockery, whenever Muslim immigrant beheads a public school teacher. Here goes the Muslim of peace again. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a state of things. But I think
you agree.
The alarm,
we all agree it should be changed. There needs to be something. We need to have a solution. It needs to be changed. We can lament this, and we can always discuss and describe what is being done. But at the end of the day, this is not a solution the way that it's going at the moment. I just want to welcome Mustafa into the panel. Thank you for joining us. Glad that you made it. We are discussing the current political events that are happening in the world after the cartoon massacres being happening in France at the moment. So welcome. Good evening to you. Do you want to say something quickly, just as a quick hi, because then I want to turn to Rob and then back to you for a comment on this.
Okay, absolutely. So hi everyone, Mustafa, that's myself. My apologies if I'm a bit late, but I was just occupied with some schoolwork, so I just found the time, like, hey, I can join you guys. So here I am, and I love joining you guys.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you.
And no problem. Always here to help. So that's my intro.
Super. Then let's hear what Rob has to say about this, and then what Mustafa says.
Let's just bring this up quickly, because this is something that Waisa brought up. So this is the Hadith, and it's Al-Nazra, if I pronounce that correctly. It's a collection of Hadith compiled by Imam Ahmed Al-Nazra. Apologies for the pronunciation. His collection is unanimously considered to be one of the 6 canonical collections of Hadith. Have I got the right one up there now? And so here's the Hadith that Waisa was talking about. So there was a blind man who had a wife, or a mistress, or whatever the case is, Walid. She used to slander and defame the Prophet Muhammad a great deal, and he would rebuke her, he meaning the blind man. But she would not pay heed, and he would forbid her to do that, but she ignored him. One night he mentioned the Prophet, and she slandered him. He could not bear it, so he went and got a dagger, which he thrust into her stomach and leaned upon it and killed her. And further down, he basically says, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, I am the one who killed her. She used to slander and defame you a great deal. I forbade her, but she did not stop, and rebuked her, but she did not pay heed. So I went and got a dagger, and I thrust it into her stomach and leaned into it until I killed her." And the Messenger of Allah said, "I bear witness that her blood is permissible." So that's the hadith that Waisa was talking about. And if it is a canonical hadith that is sahih, that people accept, you can at least see why, or how at least some Muslims will take that as an authority when his, quote, name is defamed, quote unquote, even if he's no longer alive, if he even existed, which is questionable as well. But let's assume that he did exist in the way that the Quran and Hadith portray him. Then at least there's one hadith that certain Muslims can take. Now, of course, not all Muslims do that, so that's good. And as Stops and I and everybody else says, that most Muslims are better than their book. But that obviously leaves you with the uncomfortable position of having to defend a book which you are a lot more moral than. And that's, of course, the the sort of dancing that we get from apologists. Now, Smart Cat is smart enough not to do that, but he is in a bit of an uncomfortable position as to whether he accepts, Hadith and Quran straightforwardly read, or if not, and we can get into that perhaps a bit later on. With regards to Hatun, obviously I'm always for somebody being able to express themselves freely in Speaker's Corner to the, apart from incitement, direct incitement to violence, and even then you have to push the bar quite a lot to get that. But I think Smart Cat did actually mention something, and I've said that many times, and is that you need to have a significant police presence in Speaker's Corner to defend at least as much freedom of speech as is humanly possible. What is there more foundational for a functioning democracy than freedom of speech, which is constantly under attack and is constantly being undermined? And so that's where 50 police should be every Sunday, if and until that. And in fact, if metal detectors, you name it, anybody that wants to come to that area could be searched. There's a way to deal with this, if and until the odd violent Muslim, or indeed anybody else that might be violent, gets the message that this place is not for you if you cannot handle it. So I think there's been lots of monologues tonight, so I'll leave it there because we've got a lot to cover. So let me hand back over to the other guys.
Well, one thing I want to add, because I'm very happy that this is actually, well, I think it's by chance, there was a Christian who actually opened a GoFundMe, and he said, look, the glasses that Hatun was wearing when she was slapped or hit or I don't know what, she actually, I think she lost consciousness because she looked very dazed when she was standing there, but her glasses were broken. So what he did, and I thought this was immensely clever, he said, let's get Hatun some new glasses to at least get her some sort of financial compensation for what she's doing. Now, he had to close it because it went over 10,000 euro within, I don't know, a couple of days. I'm very happy that I was a part of that, and it shows that somebody like Hatun is appreciated. And
Yeah,
I mean, you could talk about her voice, you could talk about her attitude, you can criticize her for all sorts of things, sure, but it shows that people appreciate if somebody is true to their word, is outspoken, knows what they're doing, and actually does some research and is not false, is honest and brings facts and things. And this is appreciated, and this for me is a brilliant sign that people are showing their appreciation in this form, that she can buy new glasses and go and get a cup of coffee. Okay, Mustafa?
I sent him a text, Islam Critiques. I sent him a text, if you're going to get her new glasses, hope you got enough extra money to get her a stab vest while you're at it. She might need it in the future.
Wait, where did you send me? Did you send it to me on Facebook?
No, I think you're talking past each other. At the moment, I think Thunder was saying that he sent a text to the guy who initiated the GoFundMe.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, Mustafa, what is your impression? How do you see the current event? Just give us a quick rundown of the events following the rerun of the cartoons.
Yeah, and I've also been following some Pakistani news at the same time too, and I have seen some, protests, and there has been there have been a lot of advocates of free speech in Pakistan who've said that these are the same people who are protesting these cartoons were just yesterday protesting that Shia Muslims should be declared kafir. So this kind of this is not surprising, unfortunately, in Pakistan as well. And what I'm seeing with these events is that I'm not necessarily surprised. I am surprised that Muslims are indirectly supporting a killer, which is really shocking. But at the same, it's kind of this weird feeling that I get that a man just got beheaded, and you're more upset at Macron's taking a stand. And I heard Macron's statements. I found nothing wrong with those statements. So I don't know. And then there's this huge, like, yay, we're boycotting French products, and this entire, this global campaign of like Muslim countries banning French products. And here I'm thinking, like, why haven't you done this to China? Or, like, because apparently China is your, this humanity, this sort of like boycotting humanity. It's very selective, but their main priority is a cartoon of a man who's maybe a historical figure or maybe a fantasy. That's their priorities, basically. And those are my thoughts right now.
Yeah, that's terrible. Okay, I don't think there's much point, because we can speculate, we can wish, we can do all sorts of things. I don't see a solution in sight. What I'm wondering is whether other European countries are going to take a similar stance, that they're going to clamp down on this, that they are now going to finally say, look, we are going to address any kind of terrorist attack. If it is committed by a Muslim, we will say this, because they have been very careful not to do this because they were afraid of the backlash against normal, peaceful, whatever Muslims. But this pussyfooting around. And the funny thing is, I asked a question on Facebook. I said, listen, we have two options. Either we continue doing it and being politically correct and thereby protecting the peaceful Muslims, or we go and say, well, no, we need to take a stance, and the people who are following this Islam must be aware that there is an inherent problem within Islam, and we must be able to do this, even if it does mean some discomfort for some of the Muslims who will be, I don't know, I don't think they will be physically attacked. There are some extremists who will do that, but normally this will be like more verbal or something. And I asked this question, and I pointed out these two options. And the funny thing is, I am getting abused by Muslims that I even dare propose this, showing these two options. They are clearly saying, leave us alone. We don't want you involved in this. Just shut the fuck up and leave us be. We can handle our own stuff, when obviously they can't. They think that they can just continue. And the governments don't realize that a lot of these activities are sort of driven and choreographed by the Muslim Brotherhood, who do not think in hours or days or weeks. No, they're thinking in decades. And this is the plan that they want. And this is
that's a very good point you raise there. They live in a different plane of existence where it's a generational thing, not sort of like within a lifetime kind of activity. And just on your point there as well, Subs, I want us to bear in mind, how many times have we seen protests and marches by Muslims in one country enough after another, where they're holding placards and banners with phrases like "to hell with free speech" or "freedom of speech." So I don't subscribe to Stopps's point of view that there are such good things as good Muslims. The only good Muslim is the one that kills, because that is Islam. That's exactly what Muhammad would have wanted. He's done what Muhammad would have wanted. He is the good Muslim. The peace-loving Muslims are the fake Muslims, the hypocrites, and the liars. They are not good Muslims. But good Muslim or bad, whatever your interpretation is, they are Muslims, period. And there's a principle called communal responsibility. If you declare yourself a Muslim, then you go down with the religion. It's as simple as that in my eyes. It's very binary, very black and white. But when you say you are a Muslim, you're aligning yourself with the thinking and propaganda or the rhetoric or the manifesto of the God that you've worshipped and the prophet that you follow. For me, it's one and the same, whether you're a hypocritical Muslim or whether you're a militant, a true Muslim, which is what we're seeing in the media at the moment, the true face of Islam.
So you're saying take a hard stance, and even if it will cost the lives of a few, then this is something that
Okay,
we
then
just
stop.
need to
Let me
live
put it
with.
another way to you. You leave it as it is. I've been saying this to you for years, and I hope you'll remember that this is a true statement. I've been saying this for years, right? You can't negotiate with Islam. I
Yeah.
call it the
Okay.
bore because it's non-negotiable. Death is irrelevant. Resistance is futile, right? You either watch your freedom of speech slowly diminished, eroded, and removed, and Islam. Because the thing is, you see, Christians won't kill people if they don't get their own way. Neither do atheists, Jews, Zoroastrians, pagans, or whatever. No other religion kills people for not getting its own way. Muslims and the religion of Islam does. Time and again, we've seen it. How many attacks has there been since 2001?
Yeah.
A man
Okay. Hundreds,
saying,
thousands. Yeah, we
yeah,
know that.
how many? Okay, then. A man says if the Prophet Muhammad was here, he would have one of these women as a wife. That was in Nigeria at the Miss World competition. 18 people died. A woman named a teddy bear Muhammad. There were riots in Somalia. What more evidence do you need? These are just the two off the top of my head to realize this religion, whether you're sitting next to a peaceful guy that's taking your money because he's a taxi driver, or the hot-headed one who's belligerent and argues and goes along with blame culture, Muslim is Muslim, period.
Okay. Anybody else
Um,
quickly want to say something about this?
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I think Thunderous has had bad experiences with Muslims. He's traumatized. He doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you are traumatized. You must have escaped some kind of weird Islamic sect, like maybe Deobandi or Salafi or something, because you.
Or maybe because your religion teaches that a person like me should be killed because your prophet says if a man leaves his religion, kill him. I wonder who's really the psychopath here then.
I didn't call you a psychopath, but I think you're insinuating that Muslims are psychopaths or Prophet Muhammad is a psychopath. But
I'm
that's fine.
saying
I'm just saying.
I'm saying
I
Islam is. I'm saying
actually feel
Islam
bad
is
for you.
a
I
psychopath.
actually feel bad for you.
Muhammad was a
It seems like
psychopath.
you're
If
traumatized,
Muhammad,
man.
okay.
I wish you the best, though. I really
Okay.
do. I mean, like you must have escaped some kind of weird cult, it's a weird Islamic cult. It's okay, man. It happens.
Okay, that's interesting because I don't write things to say if you leave my religion, you should die. When Muhammad died, the first thing that happened was the Ridda was the wars of apostasy. How many caliphs died or were executed
Okay,
within
so
the first
Thunder, we know
100
that.
years?
We know that.
Yeah.
We're aware of
The
that.
point the
Relax.
point I'm making is this religion even kills its own people. It loves killing. It loves bloodshed. If it can't find a non-Muslim to kill, it'll just kill people of its own.
Okay. There was a question in the chat which I find quite interesting, the difference between Islam and extremist Islam. Well, it is very difficult. But what I maintain is that there are people who are Muslims who have this God, who need this God in their lives to get through the day, but they don't worry about all the political side. They don't worry about all the commands. They just go through their life with their family, looking after things, and that is it. They are not there to propagate Islam. They don't want to further it. They don't want for it to take over the world. So yes, there are different Muslims because the Muslims that I know, that I work with, that I go out in the evening with, that I go and have fun with, those are Muslims who are totally normal people. You wouldn't know that they are Muslims. They don't pray 5 times a day. They don't fast during Ramadan. They don't do any of these things. So these are the run-of-the-mill people who just happen to be Muslims. And then you get the ones who are zealots, who want to go and propagate, and if Islam is everything. So there I see the difference. I'm not sure if I've covered all aspects or all the differences. I'm sure there are more, but these are just things that come to mind at the moment. Okay, then next segment is going to be Krazy Komments. And for this, I will have to go and do this and this. This is the best comment I found so far, I must admit. So during the... I don't know if I need to read this. Oh, well, if somebody can't read this in the chat. During the annual beauty contest in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia in 2018, so this is 2 years ago, 12 camels were disqualified from participation after their vet was caught administering Botox injections for an improved pout to make their camels look more attractive.
What did I just read?
What?
What did I just read?
Yeah. I thought this is a crazy comment worth mentioning.
It's not only crazy though, of course, it's animal abuse as well. But just heads up as well. Reactionary is going to join us as well, so we will have
Oh,
two
man.
Muslims on the panel.
Oh, man. You know what's animal abuse? You know what's animal abuse? Breeding dogs. That's animal abuse until they have retarded features and
This is
disformed
true.
and genetic manipulation of
Yeah,
dogs.
I mean,
Yeah, I actually
think-
agree. Actually,
yeah, I think that I would agree with that as well.
Well,
But then also, I
let's
think
just say it's a cultural difference. Let's just say, Westerners like their retarded dogs and Arabs like big-lipped camels. Well, okay.
yeah, but I think it's the abuse of animals that we're pointing out, and I probably agree with you. But I think Smart Cat, you'd also have to agree that it's terrible abuse of animals to sacrifice them at the end of Ramadan as well. Would you not agree?
well, technically that's That's towards Hajj actually. That's in Hajj. I think that's 10th of Zil Hajj. You sacrifice animals.
I mean, do you?
I don't think it's wrong when I sacrifice an animal.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well, I guess you've got to make an argument for that because that sounds like special pleading to me. But we have Reactionary
People
with us
can-
as well. So we have two Muslims on the panel. Good evening, Reactionary.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum
Hi.
to the Muslim on the panel as well.
Hello.
I don't know
Hi.
how much you've heard, but if you've got any comments before we carry on.
No, I just tuned in. I think I tuned in as Thunder was talking. So I'm not sure what you've been discussing.
No, we were just discussing the news, what was happening in France, and the reaction by a lot of Muslim countries where I think it was totally overblown. And I said, well, there's different options how you
Just
can
speak
react,
up,
and I
Stops.
think
You're a bit
this was
soft.
the wrong one. Why am I
Just
getting
become a bit
soft? I
louder,
don't
Stops.
understand. This is a
Get closer
weird
to your mic.
setup. Okay, now I jacked it up. Is that better?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Strange. Okay, so we're just talking about the news about what happened in France and the reaction by Muslim countries. Let us continue with the crazy comments. And actually, if you want to, think of something that you want to add later on, then you're welcome to do so, of course. I just want to get through with this because I don't want to waste too much time because we're still going to, watch a video, go through the Quran. So there's still a lot of stuff to do today. So this is a reaction to Hatun. There's another thing we were talking about is the reaction of a Muslim who went and punched Hatun, a girl, in the face, knocked her out, destroyed her glasses, only because she was holding up a cartoon, only because she was holding up a piece of paper with a bit of scribbling on it. Now, the point that I'm always trying to make is we do not know what a Muhammad looked like. We do not know whether this Muhammad actually existed. We do not know any of this. And if he did, we don't know what he looked like. So if I hold up a picture of an apple and I say this apple is called Muhammad, how can anybody now get upset about this? But this is where we are at the moment, and it's getting crazy. And this is the kind of comment that you get if you respect her. Because I said, yes, I have respect for her for what she is doing. And he says, if you respect her, why don't you become a Christian? Why are you an atheist? This is so funny. This shows me the mentality that so many Muslims have, that if you follow somebody, you need to take on all the different, I don't know what you want to call it, attributes of that person. And that is so weird for me. Then there was a comment, you asked for it.
Yeah, sorry. This was a similar experience I had. Like, I was just sharing something by Tom Holland when he did that documentary about the origins of Islam, even though it's a vague documentary. Most of the comments were mainly, why don't you go worship Tom Holland? I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't worship the person. I'm just saying this person has a good point. There might be some necessary probing into history that we need to look into, and he did some good work. So, but apparently that equals appreciation equals worship. Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Then Muslims should go worship Bart Ehrman then. They quote him often enough.
Oh yeah, they do.
And then this is also a typical reaction. You asked for it. Can I mock the queen? No, definitely. Good luck, Hatun. Well, Hantu. Of course you can mock the queen.
But
And
you
people
know, this
do.
comment.
We mock the
What,
queen here all the time.
Exactly.
when I
Well,
see
check
this
this out.
comment,
Sorry, I want to say something. Please, Stops. You made a comment saying that a Muslim struck Hatun. How do you know that a Muslim struck Hatun and knocked her out?
Because it was on video.
Okay, so the guy that struck Hatun, have you seen him before? Did he identify himself as a Muslim?
No.
Yeah. So this is what's interesting about what happened. Nobody who goes to Speaker's Corner recognizes this individual. Nobody's seen him before. And when he was being walked towards the police, he shouted that I'm a Christian. That's what he actually said. And it's on camera. So everybody's assuming he struck her due to being a Muslim, but we don't know. He's unrecognized. And
But I've seen him
or should
before.
I say he's unknown.
I saw
And
the face.
he himself he himself announced himself to be a Christian.
So if he announces himself to be a Christian, you would say that we have to conclude he was a Christian because he was, even though moments earlier he was caught on video arguing and defending Islam, slapping her because of her reactions and her investigations into Islam. He violently assaults her. He gets charged away. And
Do you know why he slapped her? Yeah. Do you know why he slapped her? Yeah.
Because
Do you know why he struck her?
Yeah, it's on the video, so we can all see it for why he
Well-
struck her. He struck her because he wasn't making any headway in the argument he was presenting in her challenge to his statements about Islam.
No, but Thunder, it actually has a point. Okay, he did not say, "I am a Muslim and I'm going to hit you because." So we are assuming two things, and this is absolutely correct. Technically, absolutely, I grant you those 2 points. We are jumping to conclusions because of the context. That only a Muslim will hit a woman.
Yeah.
And number two, will hit a woman because she is saying something derogatory about Islam. And three, because she is holding up a cartoon of Muhammad. This is why, due to this context, this is why we are jumping to conclusions. But technically, you are correct. We are jumping to conclusions. We
this
are
is a major
saying this
plot
was a
twist.
Muslim, and we are thinking that he did this
So-
because of the cartoon. You're right.
Yeah. So
Yes.
let's follow the line that he just for the sake of argument that he struck her out of sort of a sense of his pride for Islam and because it was being attacked by Hatun as he viewed it. And you're saying that as a Muslim he struck her because Islam instructs men to attack women. Right? Now, first of all, you yourself know that any mention about hitting of the wife in Islam, the instruction is not to leave a mark. There's even hadiths
And not to
where
hit the face. Yeah, okay, Arati, I know where you're going. I understand where you're going. Okay.
so his action was not in line with Islamic teaching.
Okay, and what?
So we can't blame Islam for his action. His action was against Islamic teaching.
There are some
That's
Islamic
very poor.
teachings which prohibit this. There are some Islamic teachings, as we have just seen, where even blood is permissible. So you can't say that. You can't
Blood,
take one
yeah,
side
but
here
not
and say
blood from the
this
face.
is the side that it is permissible, the other side is not. There
Yeah,
are
yeah.
other sides here. We've just seen it here. This is a
No,
contradiction.
we've seen
This is
somebody
Islamic
act out of
teaching too.
emotion. Yeah, we've seen. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what we witnessed was somebody strike a woman out of an emotional response, and that emotional response is common amongst all human beings. Some are better equipped at controlling those emotions. Others are not. Some people will just strike out. Okay.
Okay.
His actions, if he was
actually-
following Islamic teachings, he wouldn't have done what he did.
Okay. I understand what you're doing. Okay. Point taken. Can we leave it at that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thanks. Another comment I found is a reaction to the stabbings in Paris, is that a guy says, well, terrorists are those who stab 2 Muslim women at the Eiffel Tower. So what other people are doing is not really a terrorist act. If he kills a couple of people from Charlie Hebdo or something, that is not terrorism. But if you stab 2 Muslim women, then it is. So this is quite funny. And it's their own fault if there was another attack. Oh, really? Is it really their own fault?
But again, stops. You see what he's doing. He's trying to compare the reaction when a Muslim is attacked compared to a non-Muslim being attacked by a Muslim. Look at the difference in reaction from the media, right? The whole 24-hour news cycle becomes, Islamic attack. Whereas the 2 women were attacked and hardly any mention of it on French media.
Okay, so do you think it's comparable?
Well, they're supposed to be living in a peaceful society and they were stabbed, right? That's a knife was used. Now, was it attempted murder or no? I don't know. So it's similar in the sense that a knife was used to inflict harm on somebody.
Okay.
One was
is it
more
terrorism
devastating.
if somebody does this?
Well, here we go. Like when I was young, terrorism was something else. Terrorism was like carnage inflicted on a whole society, buildings being devastated. It's not somebody carrying a knife and attacking an individual. That's something else. Okay. But if we want to call it terrorism, then let's call it terrorism. But what I see a big problem with in this whole situation is in a society, a democratic society, we live by certain rules, particularly what's called something called the rule of law. And the rule of law helps prevent tyranny and arbitrary, imprisonment of people and death, people being put to death. The rule of law is there to control, and we have separation of powers for this reason. Any government, any authority is going to try and take over and become authoritarian and tyrannical. We need measures in place to prevent that. What happened in France with this teacher being beheaded? What proof has been established about anything that we've been told? So far, everything we know about it is purely what we're told by the media, acting as a mouthpiece for the government of France, the government of France.
That is the job of the media. Yes.
If the man was alive, he would have to go to court, right? Yeah. If he was alive, he would have to go to court and convinced beyond reasonable doubt that he was guilty. He's dead. So what do? There's a process for that. We have an inquest or an inquiry even that can look into the facts and establish what actually happened. So far, none of that exists. All we have is the government telling us something.
What are you talking about?
And,
So it's a conspiracy. So it's a conspiracy.
Come on, what are you talking about?
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. No, no.
Did what,
the
when,
whole reason
where,
we have the Magna Carta is to prevent this type of. Yeah, the whole reason we have the Magna Carta and the Constitution and the separation of powers is to prevent guilt by the governments declaring guilt of their citizens. Yes, right now it's starting with Muslims. Next, there will be another group.
You're not doing yourself a favor at the moment. You're not doing yourself a favor at all by now going and saying, well, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. We do know. There is an inquiry. All this has happened. We have facts. We have indications. We have different levels of evidence. We have all that. You cannot now say we don't have anything. Nothing has been established, and all we're doing is just speculating, trying to pin it on some Muslims. That is not true. And I'm saying you're not doing yourself a favor by doing what you are doing at the moment. You are now looking for some way of putting in some sort of a conspiracy theory to justify this.
Thank you, Stops. You're saying we have this. What do we have? What do we have that's not come from the media or from the government?
What is wrong with the media?
Well, is the media independent?
The media is supposed to be independent, yes. Whether it is to the last degree, and whether you're going to start arguing about now the dependence and independence of media, this is futile. Yes, the media is independent.
Everything, any article where you will see terrorist-related incidents reported in the media is purely statements given by government officials. Okay, now this is pure tyranny. I don't know how you can stand there and just watch this and accept
Hold
it.
on.
Actually, you're talking
Reactionary.
absolute nonsense now. This is
Reactionary.
bullshit. We have a
Can I just-
government which is giving information, and the information is being picked up from the media, and the media is then giving it to the people. That is the way that it works. And the government, it is not the government's job now to have their own media outlet and go and give out the facts of what is happening within the police. They have people who are the media liaison people, and those are the ones who work together with the media and give them the information as is necessary and required. You don't always get all information, and you get false information, absolutely, and granted. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, now everything is wrong because we have a couple of instances where it was manipulated or something. No, that is not true. We have a situation where a teacher was clearly killed because he was propagating free speech and showing them cartoons of Muhammad,
That's what we've been
which
told.
should be something very, very legitimate, and that is what happened. Now
That's
we are
what we've been
given
told.
the context for this. We are given different people who are corroborating this. We are giving evidence from other people who did this because he wouldn't have been able to identify this teacher. So they looked now, well, how could he? And then they found, aha, here it is. So this is a normal investigation, the way that it works. And now,
So why have
to go
the
ahead
rule of
from
law
your
then? So we
point,
just-
no, actually, I'm not finished
just
yet.
cast that
From your
aside.
point now,
Yeah,
actually,
go ahead.
to go and say, I go and I'm putting doubt into this because I don't have all the information, that's silly.
Can I just say, reactionary? I do technically agree with some of the points that you're raising there. I don't have any faith in the media or the state-sponsored media or the mainstream media, and I will agree with you that some of the narratives that we've been sold over the years that have been blamed on the Muslims, for instance, 911 or 77, I do not believe the narrative, and people can consider what they want to consider about that, but there is evidence to prove that the narratives are not true. But I will not accept that all media reporting on crimes with reference to Islam and terror are pure bogus to try and whip up some kind of hysteria against the Muslim religion. I won't accept that, though I will accept what you're saying about the media and the mainstream media. I totally agree with you. That being said, that still doesn't take away from the fact that you have a religion 1400 years ago with the Quran and the Hadith that is littered with violence against non-believers, assassinations, violence against and prejudice against women, so on and so forth. You've got 1400, and also we're talking about, I as an ex-Muslim from the community, I know how toxic the community is, and it's the same pattern that other ex-Muslims come out and say exactly the same thing about the hypocrisy and the duplicity and the mendacious nature of Muslims behind closed doors. I will agree with you on some of the points you're raising, but I'm going to disagree with you on a great deal. That's my comment.
Can I chime in?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, when the media is not perfect, but it does its main role, I would say, accurately 80% of the time, right? So casting doubt on the media's veracity and reporting detailed events, you can make that argument, but I wouldn't accept it in this circumstance, because the context is not on our side. It's very clear what's going on. There's people who are taking matters into their own hands because they feel justified, righteous indignation, right? And what's going on is unacceptable. You have opponents of Muslims that say, well, this is what you expect. This is how Muslims have been acting for 1400 years. And I beg to differ with those individuals. But, the context we're speaking in is in a Western democratic country that enshrines freedom of speech, secularism, and individualism. And people are perceiving it for what it is. These principles are under attack, right? and specifically because of the acts of violence. You know, if Muslims organized in a peaceful manner,
Okay.
saying,
Yeah.
hey,
We understand.
saying that these things are not acceptable, it would be better. But I'll let you. It seems like you want to say a few things. I'll let you say it.
All right. So you said the media is correct 80% of the time. Is that just your opinion, or is that based on statistics?
Don't play this game. We don't live in North Korea. We don't live in North Korea.
All right. Okay. Well, it's my turn to speak, so I'm just saying you quoted 80%, and I'm just asking. That's your opinion, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
from
fine,
what I see, and I follow the media a lot.
That's your personal view. Thank you very much. All right. So now we're
It's a very
going
good view, though.
Well, thank you. I thought you've spoken already, so let me try and say something. What we know in history is that kings and governments and rulers used to declare people guilty of a crime and have them put to death or put to prison or exiled arbitrarily.
What's the relevance?
What's the difference with what's happening now? What's the point of having the rule of law? Why have courts?
Nothing to do
Why
with
have
it.
a jury? Why have a trial when that we can just cast that aside and declare someone guilty of a crime that we don't know? Did he even do the crime?
Reactionary, should somebody be killed if he shows should somebody be killed if he shows a cartoon of Muhammad?
Doing such a thing?
You're doing that in Pakistan.
Yeah, well, why is France above doing such a thing? Don't you know what's happening?
Just wait, hang on. Reactionary, should somebody be killed if he shows a cartoon of Muhammad?
That's a separate topic. Right now.
No, this is the topic we are talking about.
Situation. Why is everybody just believing? No, we can come to that.
That is the topic. I'm asking you.
Let's deal with
do you
the straw
think
man
somebody
in a minute.
should be killed if they show a cartoon of Muhammad?
No, you're changing the topic. Stop.
No, that's the topic.
The topic, first of all, is which I raised is about the rule of law. Okay, being cast aside to just declare guilt of somebody without the rule of law being followed.
Okay, so you're not answering my question. Actually,
right? The media is not judge, jury, and executioner.
But you haven't answered.
Nor is Macron. Macron is not judge, jury, and executioner.
You're waffling. You're tap dancing.
I'll answer that in a moment.
You are avoiding a straight answer to a very straight question.
I will address your question head on in a moment. But I want to get to that. I want to finish this point first. You have to do things sequentially.
No. Reaction. You're not going to go and say, the media, the media, the media. What we need to look at
is the context. I'm not saying the media. Let me make my point. It will be clear. What we have is context. For months, maybe a couple of years, we've had these protests in France called the Yellow Jackets. France is a very unstable place politically.
Okay, this is another red herring. Reactionary,
the disgruntled people in.
Reactionary, forget about it.
This is the reality.
This is another red herring that you're bringing up. No, this is not the point.
No, it's not.
We are not talking about the media. We're not talking about the Yellow Jackets. We're talking about the cartoons of Muhammad and that people are getting killed over these cartoons. That is what we are talking about.
You're saying someone was killed over a cartoon. It hasn't been proven.
You're saying nobody was killed. Okay.
I don't know. How should I know?
All right, let's continue. I'm not going to go on this. Okay, so the question is, it's their own fault if there was another attack. And then the next comment is, Hatun's cojones are bigger than Mimi Hijab's head. And that is a crazy comment. And that is a beautiful comment because it depicts it incredibly well. The next comment is, fuck to you and Hatun. That is the only comment somebody can make if you go and ask them, what does he think about this? Was Hatun justifiably punished or beaten by somebody because she was holding up a cartoon? Fuck you and Hatun. That's the only answer you get. And 12 people actually liked it. Respect? She's asking for it. Lol. So people think this is funny, and this guy or person or girl or whatever is called Free Speech TV. Can you believe it? Respect? She's asking for it. So he thinks it's okay for a man to hit a woman who is simply holding up a drawing of something. Congratulations. And that is hate speech. Holding up a picture, a piece of paper, is hate speech. She will get hurt. That's the only thing she does. No, she criticizes political Islam, and quite justifiably so. And then, what respect? And this is now apostate prophet. She didn't deserve that slap the same way she didn't deserve respect. Hatun comes here every week to wind people up and push people to their limits. Have some self-respect. I don't know what that means. I don't know why I should respect somebody who hits another woman. I don't. It's called Speaker's Corner, and people go to debate. This animal Hatun turns up only to wind people up and get reactions, and she got one she won't forget. So this guy says she got a reaction that she deserves, and he says, what respect? We don't need to respect her. She goes there and winds people up, and because she winds people up, she is allowed to be received with violence, just because she says things and she holds up a picture of something. And this is why this person thinks, yep, she did violence, of course, justified. Let's go. Why are you surprised? You should be more surprised that she hasn't had her head, I don't know what, now. And then finally, or is it finally? Yes. I'm a 15-year-old Muslim, although I do not agree with him hitting Hatun, but at the same time, I could see Hatun was building it up. Now, do I blame the woman? To be honest, I do. If she was going to come here and insult and be ignorant, she better be ready. Yeah, you can have your free speech, but humans have limits on controlling themselves, especially when you mock attack something close to their heart. Imagine if someone was showing mocking pictures of your dead loved one and began laughing. Yes, you can have your free speech, but don't expect to be safe with your tongue. And this is the problem that we have. This is the problem that we have. Oh, sorry, I forgot to make it big. Oh, shit. So you couldn't read this with me. So, yeah. But these are, you can trust me, these were the comments that I found that I was just reading out loud.
You have a problem with her being called an animal.
I have a problem with somebody being called an animal, yes.
Can I say something? Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Look, there's an argument to be made in terms of not a political argument or a legal argument, but no, there is some areas in any society, if you go into these specific areas, right, and you agitate the people, and it could be the littlest things. It could be like just staring at somebody. You're going to get hurt. We know these areas, but not in Speaker's Corner. That's the distinction I would like to make. And I'm not justifying any violence that happened to Hatun or anybody else. I condemn that violence. But I'm just saying, in a street smart way, you know, some areas are dangerous because, you know, they're dangerous. You got to watch your back when you go into there. But this is not the same. This is not the same for Speaker's Corner. And another thing, because Speaker Corner has a large
Corner
history
special.
Yeah, it has a tradition of free speech. It's not a ghetto. It's
Free
not,
speech,
it's not,
yeah?
It's not a,
okay, all right.
Yeah, it has a tradition of free speech. It's not a ghetto. It's not your neighborhood. Maybe if she went to Birmingham or and she went into a mosque and did that, maybe I'll be like, you know, serves her right. She shouldn't go into a den of lions and expect people to honor her or guarantee her safety. But then in some areas, you know, like Speaker's Corner, this is unacceptable. At least this could be said. Another thing, the argument, I don't appreciate it. I'll tell you why. Because it could be, it's putting the blame on the victim. You know, it's like saying, oh, look at this sexy woman. She made me rape her. Like, it's very ridiculous and stupid. It's unacceptable. That's all I wanted to say.
So you condemn the man being kicked out of Speaker's Corner for saying F off to Steve. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. Steve the Atheist, our good friend from Speaker's Corner, he was being spoken to by a new visitor at Speaker's Corner, and the guy said to him, F off. PC Barnes told him to get out the park. He marched him out. He said, what, for saying F off? He said, yep. So I don't know what free speech you're talking about.
No,
yeah,
I think
go and check Mr. Axe TV.
I think reactionary.
What the
It's
fuck
all there,
are
mate.
you
Reactionary.
doing? Come on.
Reactionary.
What are
I
you
think you've
on
got to bear
about?
in mind that when we're
Everything
talking
that
about
we
free
say
speech,
now, you're
when
going
we
to
talk about free
find and
speech,
nitpick something that is wrong somewhere. Come on. This is not you. You are
I'm
doing
showing you there's
yourself a
double standards.
disfavor
Yeah,
now by going
yeah.
and
yeah, but
nitpicking
There's free
every
right.
single word. This is not going to work.
Only
but
Muslims can,
reactionary.
have to accept free speech when they're being attacked, right?
Have you read your Quran?
All other
No, it
Have you
religions
read
is
your
and
wrong.
Quran?
races you can't say anything about, but Muslims, oh, it's free
Have you
speech.
read your
It is
Quran?
wrong. It
Have
is
you read your
wrong for
Quran,
somebody to
reactionary?
get marched out of the free speech
But the
area,
guy
which
couldn't say
is
F off to
Speaker's
Steve.
Corner.
He got marched out the park.
Okay, that's wrong. What more do you
What's
want?
free speech for him?
It's wrong.
I don't
Okay,
see
what more do
shows
you
being
want?
done
It's
about that.
wrong.
Okay,
It
Reactionary.
is wrong. What more should we do?
thank you. No, that's good. I'm just pointing it out to the person who
Okay.
made that comment about free speech at
Reactionary.
Speaker's Corner.
Reactionary. Have you actually read the Quran? Have you read the Quran and Hadith? If you're all for speech, free speech, you're quite happy with the contents of the Quran and the Hadith, correct?
I didn't say
Because
I
that's
am
free
for
speech.
free speech. No, I was pointing out to the gentleman who just spoke, insisting that there's Speaker's Corner is known for free speech. I said, look, you're saying that, but in reality there isn't, because this guy got marched out
Okay.
for saying F off to
You're
Steve.
talking about an isolated. You're talking about an isolated incident. That to the side. I'm asking a simple question. Are you happy with the dialogue of your God and your Prophet in the Quran and the Hadith? Are you happy with what they
Look,
say?
yeah, so
That's a simple yes or no. I don't want to. I don't want to
What?
discuss into the semantics and whatnot. It's a simple
I'm not
yes
going to
or
answer
no.
a simple yes or no question like
Then
that. I don't know what
don't
your
answer the
agenda is
question.
behind the question. No.
Then shrewd is the one that's seeing the calamity. And I thank you for not answering it, because you know the implications of saying yes. You know the implications. That's why you don't want to answer it. Let's move on, because this is a non-productive conversation now.
Okay.
Okay. Rob, you've been very
Look,
quiet.
I
Do you want to
have
participate?
I have to argue on behalf of my faith, right? Don't expect
No,
me to sit here
reactionary. No,
and just
no.
be silent, right?
No. You
So I
are
apologize
really
if it's causing you a bit
disappointing me.
of
No, I'm really
discontent. I
disappointed in
don't need
you,
to.
the way that you are arguing today.
Okay.
I've always valued you as somebody who's reasonable, as somebody who's level-headed, who can say things, but the way that you are arguing today is a huge disappointment to me, really. This is not what I know you as. This is childish what you're doing now, nitpicking every single thing. Yeah, but do we really have free speech? And do we really have all the facts that lead to the? That's not the reactionary that I know. I have to tell you now. That's what I'm thinking.
I think the reason I'm doing that though, Stops, is genuinely because I'm witnessing the erosion of our separation of powers. I'm seeing the formation and the establishment of tyranny in our country, not just the UK, but I guess in France as well. We have this COVID, under the guise of COVID-19, our freedoms have been taken away. We're in prison. We're kept at home in prison. It's ridiculous. What is this?
I would agree, reactionary. I would wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying there about COVID. The narrative is full of COVID may be real, but the narrative is wrong. There's something wrong about the narrative, and you'll find on BBC News and the websites now a lot of people are saying it as well. So you're not alone on that. But and I agree with you. I am not somebody, just because I'm a theist and I'm an ex-Muslim, that
even Lord Sumption from the Supreme Court says that.
Yes, and I know, and I don't believe in the global climate change agenda, because there's another narrative. We can go on about those things, but that's not the subject, is it? That's not the subject. The subject is free speech. That's the subject.
All right, let's go and look at the Quran. Let's go to the next segment, because this is not going anywhere.
The reason why it is the subject, No, one final point. The reason it is the subject is because this whole thing about making Islam the boogeyman is used as a distraction from their tyranny. It's to divert the attention
okay. This is one big
global
conspiracy
look at
theory.
Look at Muslims; they're the problem.
And oh, please, come on. Okay, Rob, do you want to say something about this?
Not at the moment. It's getting later anyway, so carry on.
Yeah. Let's quickly go through I don't think we're going to get through a video today. Shit. Okay, let's go through, because we've been pushing these 20 sentences ahead of us for a couple of weeks now. We finished chapter 7, and we're now going on to chapter 8, which is called Spoils of War. the religion of peace speaks about the spoils of war. It starts off in the name of God, so it's not God itself talking here, it's somebody else talking in the name of this God, the gracious and merciful, of course. And this gracious and merciful God wants other people to know that this God and Muhammad get the spoils of war. Now, in chapter 8, sentence 1, it's just a general statement. Later on in 841, this is going to be specified that this God not only wants spoils of war, but he wants a fifth of everything that Muhammad sort of takes in, what he can steal from the caravans and from things, that this God wants a fifth of it. And then, of course,
Can I-
obey them. Obey Muhammad and God, and you have to be afraid of Allah.
Can I just say on that? You think about it. So 100 men go rob a caravan, and they rob it and it's worth $100. That means Allah and his God get $20, and the
No, no,
other nine.
No. God gets a fifth, and Muhammad gets a fifth.
Okay, so the others they share 2/5 between the other whatever numbers are involved in the robbing party.
That's the way that it works. Allah gets 20%, Muhammad gets 20%, and the 60% goes to the Sahaba, the warriors, the brave ones. Yeah.
So this is
Sentence number 2 says Muslims are afraid of their God. Well, they've just been told in sentence 1 that they should be, and so Muslims are afraid of their God. And when they hear the Quran, they believe. Okay, just for those people who don't know what I'm doing, I'm taking the words in the Quran, I'm taking a sentence, like sentence number 2 in chapter 8 in the Quran, and what I do is I read several variants, interpretations, translations, whatever you want to call them, and I go excuse me, and I read some tafsirs and I read some other commentaries on what other people, what other Muslims at the time understood this sentence to be. And I'm taking different versions, and then I'm finding the essence of the sentence and then bringing out this essence here. So this is a percolated form of the Quran. So this can be 3 or 4 lines, and I'm just contracting it down to a single line. Now, line number 3 is an extreme example because it doesn't say anything. It just says Muslims. There's no statement. There's no context. There's no whatever. It just says those who believe, and that's it. So there's not really anything there that you can that makes any sense. And number 4 also, it's like, okay, they're the true believers. Okay, great. But there's nothing really here where you can say, okay, this is a revelation, and this is going to give you any kind of guidance to bring you closer to heaven. And then sentence number 4 says, well, true believers, and then we're told to leave home, and some didn't like it that they were told to leave home. So they're arguing with you, and after I don't know what this is. I have not been able to make any sense of this sentence. After clear looking death they're driven. And it's only when you read a couple of commentaries who say this verse could also mean if Muslims obeyed. But the Quran, Rob, do you have the original sentence 5 somewhere to show what gibberish this really is?
I have sentence 5. One sec.
Yeah, I've got it as well.
So-
Yeah. Let's just see if this is the same one.
So
It's not the right one, sorry.
So I have the Pickthall, Sahih International, and Yusuf Ali versions. So the Yusuf Ali version says, just as thy Lord ordered thee out of the house in truth, even though a party among the believers disliked it. So that's the sentence. Pickthall's version is, even
No,
as
the sentence after that.
after number 5.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
That's the 6th one, right? That's verse
Yes.
number. Okay, disputing with thee the truth after it had been made manifest, as if they were being driven to death visible.
That's what the sentence says.
So what does this mean? While they were looking on, while they actually saw it, while they were looking, excuse me, as if they were driven to death while they were looking. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an analogy. It's basically saying the truth is self-evident. It would be the same as if they were going towards death, knowing death was coming, and just watching it pass by. It's like the truth is passing them by, and it's been made clear. So it's not an ideal analogy, and certainly not clear in the first reading there, but it seems to be some sort of analogy there.
And if you go to the tafsir, they say that it could mean that Muslims obey.
Which verse are you reading? Sorry.
In
Chapter 8, sentence 6.
In Jalalain, they say they dispute with you concerning the truth to fight after it had become clear, had become evident to them, as though they were being driven to death while they looked at it. Death.
Oh, yeah. So what I understand. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you finished. Okay. So if it's okay, what I understand from this verse is that Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ about those people who were hesitant or refused to go out to fight when the order came for them to fight. And it's describing the horror that they had within themselves, why they were afraid to go out to fight. Yeah, it's as though you're telling them to go out and die. All right. So
the sentence after that.
As if they were being driven to death with their eyes. Is that what you're talking about, or the one after?
Yes. They dispute with you concerning the truth after what was made clear, as if they were driven to death while they looking.
What was made clear?
What truth?
Yeah, what was it that was made clear?
Why were they driven to death?
No, it's as if they were.
About going to jihad.
As if they were driven
the order
to death.
for jihad.
We always hear how Allah sends thousands of angels and He stops time just so that they can be victorious, and they're always victorious and blah blah blah. And now it's that the truth is that you're driven to death. Huh?
Well, I think I think at least with the Arabic, it might be just giving an analogy. The latter part, that is. So it's like as if they were driven to death while they were looking, would just be an analogy of, like, it was so clear that
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, but it's the way that it is written. I had to spend so much time on this short little sentence. It was amazing. Okay, thank you, Rob. Then this was just an example. So sentence 7: to kill unbelievers, you were given the armed army. To kill unbelievers, you were given the armed enemy. To kill unbelievers, you were given the armed enemy. Now, this means that there were two options. They could choose whether they were taken the non-armed enemy or the armed enemy. And they chose the armed enemy to make it more difficult for them. Okay, sentence number 8, I don't know. Truth criminals. I don't know what sentence number 8 means. Can you bring it up? Maybe you can help me. I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's that he, presumably that, I don't know who the he is that they're referring to there, might justify truth and prove falsehood false. I mean, you could again just say that slightly different, abolish falsehood, prove the falsehood. I mean, it's
okay, so if I say bring truth, criminals avoid.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a sort of a sloppy way of writing it, I guess. To prove something false is a much easier way of saying it, even if they disliked it, even if disliked it, the criminals, even if the criminals disliked it. Basically, yeah, I mean, he's going to justify the truth, and show falsehood, even if the people who are guilty don't like it. Okay, I mean it's
All right.
it's like there's a lot of trivial statements. I mean that's a trivial thing, right? If you demonstrate something is true, then obviously the corollary is proved false. If it's a true dichotomy, if something is true, then obviously whatever else would have been a dichotomous would have been false, whether somebody likes it or not. I mean. And that's kind of saying like the truth is the truth, whether you like it or not. That's another way of stating, but it's a trivially true point, right?
Exactly.
It's not substantial, it's not interesting, it's not informative.
But thank you for that. I see that now. I see, because I really had a problem with understanding. Oh, you should have left it, because the next sentence is exactly what I was talking about. Just click on next. Because here, I mean, they're given victory. When you were seeking help of the Lord and answered, indeed, I'm going to reinforce you with 1,000 angels, one after another. So I said, the Lord helped with 1,000 angels in goose step. I don't know why it has to be one after the another or one after another. I don't know. I don't know why they can't just swarm them. But this is quite funny that a God sends angels made out of photons to go.
Well, we don't know what it's made out of,
help
right?
against the enemy.
Nobody seems to know what an angel is made out of. I mean, if it's immaterial, then obviously it wouldn't assist. So, again, angels seem to be a mystery. It's a word, but it's like a unicorn. We can conceive of it. I don't know that we can even conceive of what an angel is. People draw things that they mean are angels, but if you actually ask somebody what an angel is, nobody can tell you, right? They will just give you some idea of what they think it is, which is entirely subjective and doesn't have any substantiation in reality.
Angels are sometimes sent in the form of human beings. And also we have a description of the angel Gabriel when the Prophet Muhammad first encountered him as well.
What description have you got of him?
So
he was a voice, right?
Well,
no,
he's described as
he
a
looked
man
to the
fully
sky.
formed.
We're talking about the
there's
first
one
one in the
encounter.
cave.
He
Yeah, in
grabbed
the
hold
cave,
of
yeah.
Muhammad in the cave.
Okay, but he didn't know
So
who
yeah,
it was.
he saw him on one occasion in his full form. Yeah, and his
that wasn't the first
what's the
time.
verse in the Quran about it as well?
Was he
Not the
not in
first
his
time,
full
no.
form? Why? How do you know he wasn't? Angel Gabriel was not in his full form when Muhammad first encountered him in the cave.
Because the narration which specified it, it actually said on this occasion he saw him in his full form.
Okay, what about when he tied Satan to the post and then let him go? Do you remember that situation? He grabbed hold of Satan and tied him there. I forget which hadith it is. Did you see Satan in his full form?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but anyway, the point is that a God helps out with 1,000 angels walking in and helping to solve the war.
Stops. Isn't there another surah that says there were 5,000 angels?
Oh, there's plenty. Yeah. There's varying.
But Muslims want to say there was a different battle, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because obviously, if you say 1,000 and 5,000, that's a contradiction. So they want to claim it's a different battle that's going on.
Yeah, and you need to appreciate that if this number 7 is always many, all right? So if it says 7,000 or 700, this is not, intended to indicate that this number is to be taken literally. It's just a lot, many. So the same with 1,000 angels. I don't think he means. I mean, can you imagine 1,000 angels? What are they going to do? Are they like parachute into a battle or something? And I don't know what this whole thing is.
Well, I mean, it says that with 1,000, bin alephin, I guess is the translation. So it says 1,000 there. So why would you say 1,000 if you didn't mean 1,000? You would just say many.
Yeah, because this is the Quran. Like it says 7,000 or 7, and it means many. It's just a figure of speech. It's the same way as we say sunset and sunrise, but it's not really the sun setting or the sun rising.
Yeah, but I don't think that's analogous with the number of angels.
It's not. It shouldn't be, because this is a God, all right? And it's a perfect God writing a perfect book which is perfectly explained and clear. And yeah, it's not. But yeah, okay, what are you going to do? Okay, listen, and not but good news. Almighty, all-wise Allah will give you victory. So this is all about like a God interfering with battles and helping Muslims out. He covered you with sleep, security, and water. This purifies you, removes the devil, strengthens heart and feet. Remember, I maintain that this was a recruitment manual, and this is exactly what I see here. That if you join us, then there's this God who looks after you, and even if things are looking bad, then He's going to come in and save you from it, and so that you can sleep easy and rest. And yeah. And Allah tells the angels He strengthens believers, terrorizes non-believers, and has them decapitated and fingertips amputated.
But the thing with this stops is it seems unfalsifiable. So if you're a Muslim, what would convince you that that was a man-made idea as opposed to a God idea? How do you falsify this?
You can't. You can argue either way.
Go on, Reaction. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think part of war, and in life in general, but in war specifically, there's a requirement for leaders to give some form of motivation for their troops. If you look at Western generals, like in World War II, they made some, great statements which motivated the troops to go out and fight and even, be prepared to sacrifice their lives based on what they heard. You see it in sports as well with American football teams. The coaches will give a locker room speech, as they call it. But this is no different. But it's set in this is from God through His messenger, right? So this is the exemplary form of that, as Muslims see it.
Reaction. Why would they even need to battle if you can just call down angels? They can stand back. Have you seen Lord of the Rings, the final one, where the undead come and they just massacre the orcs? You could just stand back and let the angels massacre them. I mean, you wouldn't have to do that. Of course, they could have been smited or just made into dust instantaneously. But they didn't have to do anything. They could be bystanders and watch it and record it accurately to the man as the angels just annihilate everybody. Instead, people have to die, and they're told that the angels are coming to help. There's no evidence that there were any angels.
Yeah, but Rob, why fight in the first place?
Yeah, just call the angels down, right? You've got an unbeatable force.
Why do you need to fight? Why would there be any opposition? All you need to do is hold up the Quran, and everybody says, "Wow, this is a God."
No, well, then they don't have free will stops.
You have the fitra, you have all this, so there should be no need right from the beginning.
Yeah, but they've got free will stops, so you can't go with that. But forget about that. I mean, Reaction, why is it that they just don't? He just doesn't use angels, right? If he had 1,000 angels that were unbeatable and infallible, why would he need an army? I mean, that would have made a believer out of me. If somebody came along with angels and smited everybody left, right, and center, and I could see these were angels, I'm going to go, okay, this dude's got some power here. If he was immoral, of course, I wouldn't accept it, but then I'd have to just accept being smited. But that would be very convincing if he actually had angels and not an army.
So the key thing here is that you don't get anything as a gift just without working for it. Number one, you have to work for it. Number two, the reason you're working needs to be correct. It should be to please God, to establish His sovereignty on the earth. Once you're putting in the effort and working as hard as you possibly can, and you're doing it for the right reasons, Allah will support you. He will give you the help of the angels, right? And
is that what you read
really
here?
The objective here, to motivate you to do what you need to do. Yeah.
Is that what you read here?
Sorry if I interrupt, but why does
in general, yeah. I mean, I was just answering Rob's question.
I think Mustafa wanted to say something.
Yeah. So I would say, you want to make the argument that God helps those who help themselves, but you're saying that you're doing it to please God. Why does He need you and a bunch of monkeys on a tiny little stone somewhere in space to fight on His behalf?
Okay, well, that's the whole. This goes back to a more fundamental thing about why we exist on Earth. It's to worship God. This world is a test for us to
Even then,
prepare us for the day of judgment,
okay,
and hopefully we'll pass that test. Right.
Why,
so while we're here, we're going to be tested.
Why does this powerful being EA need you to fight on his behalf? And second, why does he need constant praise when you're doing the work? And why does he need he could just annihilate you within seconds? Like, why do you need to keep stroking this being's ego?
Yeah, well, that's a different. I mean, we can go down that path, but then you're going to ask, why did God create us in the first place? Well, and then why did God do anything? A Muslim has gone beyond that point. He's already accepted. Yeah. A Muslim has gone beyond that. He's answered these questions to himself, right? And he's convinced. Now he's reached a point that, yes, I believe there is an Almighty God who knows everything and is all wise, all knowing, and just. And he's put me here as a test.
You just said
and I have to fulfill this test. And
that's a contradiction.
What do you mean? I don't. That's what a Muslim should believe.
Yeah, but that's a contradiction. You've just contradicted yourself.
I didn't see the contradiction.
Well, you just said that God knows everything, has all the knowledge, does everything, has all the power, and then he needs to test something. That's a contradiction.
Yeah. I didn't say he needs to do anything. He chose to do that. He does what he pleases.
You just said that he has all the knowledge, and then we need to be tested. That's a contradiction.
Yeah, that stops. I think what he's saying is that it's a test for human beings who don't know the outcome. I think that's what he's trying to get at. Not that there's a test for God. There's no test for God because God knows. What you're actually attempting to say is, no, it's a test for humans who don't know the outcome already.
Why should they be tested? Okay, we've been through this. That doesn't make sense. Can we cut this short because we're running out of time?
Can I ask one question? May I ask one question?
One question.
Okay. Given what you said earlier on, reactionary, about how do we know this, whether there are any bodies and blah, 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 using and mainstream media and propaganda and rhetoric, using that same sort of like reasoning you used earlier, why do you believe the Quran? I could very much easily throw the same argument back at you with what you're saying and how you're defending Islam, but use the same line of reasoning you're using because you weren't there. You don't know anything about Muhammad and Allah. You didn't see anything. How come you're not using that same logic with Muhammad, Allah, and the Quran?
Yeah, so Muslims will have gone through that thought process already, and they've come to the conclusion that they do believe in the Quran, and therefore whatever they're reading in it is from God. Yeah, he's speaking to them, to their hearts, and therefore they try to obey God by doing what he tells them to do through the messenger of Muhammad.
Okay, so the sentence that we're talking about is that Allah tells the angels, I don't know why, he strengthens believers. So he's standing in front of I don't know how many millions and trillions of angels and saying, I strengthen believers. I terrorize non-believers. And I will decapitate them. And I will amputate their fingertips. Wow, that's a motivational speech if you ever heard one. Now, one thing I want to point out here, if I remember correctly, now, Jesus, this is such a long time, this is like 7-8 years ago. There's a word in here, I think it's banan, I can't remember, which is being used by our favorite Zakir Naik, who says, well, this is not actually the fingertips, but this refers to the fingerprints, and this is the first time in history that fingerprints are mentioned, and this is a miracle that the Quran already knew about fingerprints, even though the Chinese had them 500 years earlier. But this is this is where it comes. This is the point that Zakir Naik is talking about.
You're having a laugh.
Yeah, no, this is really no. This is what Zakir Naik says.
I think he's referring to a different verse. It's the same word, right? Banan, right? And I think it's Surah Al-Qiyamah. Well, Allah is saying that the disbelievers are denying that they will be resurrected and brought back to life after they've died. And so he's saying, no, we will recreate them. Even their very fingertips will recreate. So the question now is, why did God say their very fingertips? Yeah, because
Correct.
and
here,
some people
I
interpret
got it
that
wrong.
as go ahead.
And the thing is, if you
Sorry,
take
Stops,
this,
go
what
ahead.
you just said, exactly in this sentence, when I will resurrect you down to the last fingertips, and Zakir Naik says, you see, he's mentioning fingerprints, then if you go and look at it in this sentence, then the same word, banan, is being used, but here you can't amputate the fingerprints. That was the point. Sorry, I got the sequence wrong. But this was the way that I refuted this when Zakir and I brought this up. I said, well, if you resurrect the fingerprints, you can't amputate fingerprints, can you? So there you go. So this is quite funny. This is where it comes from. So sentence 13: those who oppose Allah and His Messenger will be punished severely.
Right, that
quite
there
funny.
is a contemptible verse, because that means that Allah and
No,
Muhammad
Flanders,
share
it's
it.
not.
It's
childish.
50-50. You know, it's 50-50. Muhammad's basically saying, I share 50-50 with Allah. He's putting himself on a 50-50 equal pedestal with Allah.
Okay, this is true. Yeah. And yet you are not allowed to draw any picture of him. Yeah.
How can you say it's not like that? How can you say Allah and His Messenger? It's not the first time. This is one of many scriptures in the Quran that talks about Muhammad and his messenger. Muhammad and he who disobeys the messenger. There are too many verses to show that this is an equal partnership.
Well, look a few sentences down, you get the same thing again.
Yes.
So, sentence 14.
He's not equating himself to God. He's the messenger of God. Right. So what he commands is God's command. So disobeying the messenger means you're disobeying God. That's the point.
No, it's not.
He's saying he is God.
No. If your God is supposed to be the great communicator, clear and without there's no misunderstanding, a book made clear, a book full of admonishments, and all the others ayah that confirm that, all he has to do, obey me. Simple as. He doesn't say that. He says Allah and his messenger. When someone puts the word "and" there, he doesn't say Muhammad who represents me. He's saying Allah and his messenger. If I said I'm in partnership with, say, Stop Spamming at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, me and Stops will make a decision. That's talking about me and Stops coming together, discussing the matter, and then coming to a conclusion between ourselves. That's not me representing Stops or Stops representing me, is it?
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
I think what's
interesting about this, what you're saying. Sorry, Rob, go ahead, man.
There's another dimension here. Because if you oppose Allah and His Messenger, if the Messenger says something, how do you know that he is saying what Allah told him?
That was where I was going to go as well.
Can I respond to your point, Thunder? I think I have a slight delay on my StreamYard app, so bear with me. But this verse, when it says obey Allah and His Messenger, it is in context as well to the verse a few verses up, where it was talking about the hypocrites or the disbelievers who didn't want to go out to battle. They were trying to argue with the Messenger of Allah, in spite of God commanding it. They were trying to talk to him as though it wasn't from God, it was his decision. So Allah is telling them, obey Allah and obey His Messenger, right? Don't try and make out that, this is Muhammad's decision alone to go to war. No, he's obeying Allah by telling you to go to war. So go to war.
How do you know that?
Obey Allah and obey His Messenger.
How did the people know that? How were they supposed to know
context.
that? They couldn't know this.
But
the people didn't have the context.
Well, if they didn't have the context, then they're not believers.
The tafsirs and the hadith came later, so how did they, exactly that point, how did they know the context?
Because to become a Muslim, you have to testify that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is His messenger.
Yes. But
you have to believe that His revelation comes, at the time of His prophethood.
It seems strange.
People became Muslim.
It does seem strange in the Quran that there's this flips between Muhammad making a statement with Allah and His Messenger, and then you get later on statements where Allah is making a statement on behalf of Muhammad, like, for instance, staying late, having a meal in Muhammad's house because Muhammad's too shy to tell you. But in this instance, it's not too shy to tell you. And do you see, when he wants things to go his way, it's Allah speaking. When he wants things to go Allah's way, they're both speaking. I can't make heads or tails sometimes as to who's speaking for who at any one given point.
This is true. Yeah, we've seen this several times. Yeah, Okay, let's quickly, guys, let's quickly finish the last few sentences. Don't turn your backs on non-believers. Those who do will face Allah's wrath and go to hell. So don't run away. Actually, I need to remember this. Was it Jordan M. who challenged us, Rob? And now we can quote 8:15 to him. Don't turn your backs on non-believers. Don't run away. Why did Jordan M. run away from us? I wonder.
Yeah, but they're going to claim this is in war, right? So
those who do will face. So he's going to face Allah's wrath and go to hell. Okay.
yeah, but they can just claim that this verse refers to war. So
Yeah.
Now we're going to have a sentence now, and I think this is again one of the worst ones in the Quran. It's not you who killed them, but Allah did. It's not you who threw, but Allah did. And I have a
Allah takes credit for
footnote here. At that moment, the Prophet, peace be upon him, threw a handful of dust at the enemy, saying, "May their faces be scorched." So saying the Prophet, peace be upon him, made a gesture, and the Muslims started their charge. And this is from Ibn Hanbal, Musnad, Volume 1, in Ibn Hisham, Volume 1, and Ibn Kathir comments on the verse, and so on and so forth. So this is a story that has been authenticated, that there is a, what do you call it, an absolvement, that if you kill somebody in battle, it's not actually you. It's actually your God who's doing it, so you don't need to worry about it. It's not on your conscience. And this reference to "it's not you who threw" is not going to, you can't say, well, I don't know what the hell is going on here. They have an explanation for it, because, I mean, obviously when I read this, I didn't know what the hell was going on. So again, this is a sentence which took me like nearly an hour just to get through this one sentence to understand what the fuck is going on here. This is how clear and explained the Quran is.
seems to violate free will, though.
There are so many things wrong with this sentence. There's so many things that are wrong. It's so immoral. It is so illogical. It is so everything. It's really terrible.
I don't think it defies free will in the sense that the Prophet threw, from what I remember reading about this, he threw dust in the direction of the disbelievers, a handful of dust.
No, the first part.
Sorry, which part?
It is not he who slew them.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's in yellow there on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Let me look up the tafsir on it.
I see. You need to get the tafsir out. So that's how well explained the Quran.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the tafsir says, meaning, it is not because of your power and strength that you killed the pagans, who were many while you were few. Rather, it is He, meaning Allah, who gave you victory over them, just as He said in another verse. Yeah.
Exactly. It's totally immoral, totally illogical, and goes against everything else. It's a total contradiction.
Not quite.
There's plenty
it's like,
of those. Actually, we've come across
it's
so
like
many
in
of these.
general
I'm not
things
even
in life.
surprised anymore.
Yeah. No, it's to take away sort of arrogance. Like if I buy a nice car or I get, a beautiful woman to marry or something, I may feel a sense of self-pride, like I was responsible for it. In the end, no, a Muslim is instructed to be humble, to recognize that everything he has comes from God, and to be grateful for what he has. To remove arrogance.
Would I know how to tell this people in a much better way? Absolutely. Okay, sentence 18. Allah will weaken non-believers. Really? Is that what's happening? So I can't believe this, that people actually find anything special in this book. So it's not you who killed them, but Allah did, and Allah will weaken non-believers. So first he weakens those that he hates, and then he's going to kill them anyway. Why would he want to weaken them first if he's going to kill them?
I think
it doesn't make sense. It's illogical.
Yeah,
you will get victory if you ask. Excuse me? No, you don't. You can ask as much as you want to. If you want victory, you will get defeat. Okay, I don't know.
Stops,
Rob,
I
can you
think
just bring
Smartcat
the
wanted to
sentence
say
because
something.
this is crazy. Peace is good, but if you go to war, Allah will be with you, the believers. So peace is good, but war is better because Allah
Stops, I
wants
think.
it that way, and He's going to be. Sorry.
Stops, I think Smartcat wanted to say something.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had very bad connection this week.
Did
And
you want to
another
comment on
thing
that,
is
or?
Stops. Yeah, I just wanted to say Stops. You know how the verses are in numerical order, like 1, 2, 3, up to 10, up to 20 on this page, right? Just just to let you know, those numbers weren't there when the original manuscript was compiled.
Correct.
Right. So I think we have you know a misunderstanding in reading these, because when you read the other in a grammatical sense, yeah, it's not like it doesn't need to follow that logic, you know.
Should it follow in sequence,
You think?
Smart?
Pardon me?
Should it make sense?
Should it follow
make
in
sense to a
sequence
reader?
so we can make sense of it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I think that's why you guys are having a hard time, because you're reading one verse after the other and you're like, how is this connected? It doesn't make sense. And, you know, because the verses were revealed to a community that was experiencing events, that when verses were revealed that way, it made more sense to the original Muslim community because they were experiencing the revelation with context in the background.
So it's no longer valid and it doesn't need to make sense for us.
No, I'm just saying you need to have a historical, you need to have the historical background. You need to remember it, you know, when you're discussing these verses.
Where does the Quran say that?
I mean, it's, you know, 1400 years have passed, right? So you kind of have to like...
Exactly. If you bring up sentence 19, if you read the original structure of the sentence, it does not make any sense. This is why I put the sentence in the brackets there. Because it says, thank you, Rob. If you ask for victory, then certainly has come to you the victory. And if you desist, then it's good for you. But if you return, we will return. What? And then he has to add the two because it's missing. So which is it? If you ask for victory, and there certainly has come to you the victory. Okay? Now this is what he says. Now look at what Sahih writes. If you seek the victory, the defeat has come to you. So there's something wrong here. If one person can translate it as victory and the other one can translate it as defeat, this cannot be explained and clear.
Yeah, this seems to be a contradiction right here. Or at least like there's different, the meaning is like obviously there are three different translators saying different things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't say anything about the Sahih, the Sahih translation, but when I read the Yusuf Ali translation, if ye pray for victory and judgment, now hath come to you the judgment. But I don't think any of these translations correspond to the Arabic words, as so it could be an error in translation.
Yeah, but the question that I have, if you have one sentence and three translations, how do you know which one is the correct one?
What's your problem with the verse? I'm not catching it.
The one says if you ask for victory, you will get victory. The other one says if you want victory, you get defeat. The next one says if you want victory, you get judgment. Those are three different things.
In Arabic, in tastaftihu, it means if you ask for victory, like victory, فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمُ الْفَتْحُ, then the victory has been given to you. So I think this is talking about the end of the war.
No,
you've been given the victory. فَقَدْ
Yeah.
جَاءَكُمُ الْفَتْحُ وَإِذْ قَالُوا اللَّهُمَّ إِنْ كَانَ هَذَا هُوَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ عِنْدِكَ Yeah, go on, brother. Sorry, Kat.
Yeah, I think this is about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah.
Where does it say that?
I recognize the context of the verse.
If you go to the tafsirs, yes, because they will give you some sort of thing. But I am looking at the Quran. I'm trying to read the Quran like a normal person would read the Quran, a non-scholar, somebody 500 years ago who did not have the internet, who did not have 500 tafsirs and explanations and dictionaries and everything. How would anybody in the last 1,400 years be able to understand this book?
Here's the thing, Stops. Now I understand your issue. Before, how the Muslim world trained their scholars, it was done through a tradition of disciple and student, master, disciple, and student. And so it was a chain. So the information would be given as you progress through your scholarly studies. So
how do you get the information?
You learn it. You learn it from your
from whom?
From the people that teach.
Through scholars. Through study.
How can they teach something that doesn't yet exist?
Pardon me?
How can they teach something that doesn't yet exist?
Who? We have to be specific.
What didn't exist?
The rest of the sentences, the context.
It did exist. It always has existed.
No, you're getting one line at a time.
This is what was taught.
You are getting
this is
one
what was
line
taught
at a
in
time.
circles of
There is
of
nothing
knowledge.
that you can teach if you're only getting one line at a time.
I'm sorry, Stop. I must be misunderstanding you. What please rephrase what you're trying to say. I'm trying to follow you.
Okay. Was the book thrown from heaven?
No, it was not thrown from heaven.
Was it revealed sentence by sentence over a time period of 23 years?
Exactly.
Okay. If a sentence was revealed in the year number 3 and a sentence was revealed in the year number 20, how can anybody teach something in the year 17 that will only be revealed in the year 20?
Okay, are you sure that this is the situation for this text? For this?
No, I'm just making a point.
I accept that point.
The point doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You're finding a confusion that doesn't exist there. Stops.
Wait, why doesn't it exist?
What is the actual problem? Like a verse was revealed in year 5.
A text in the year 17 which will be revealed in the year 20.
Well, it wouldn't, because the Quran was still being revealed. Once it was complete, then people would be able to teach it. Well, I don't see why it's a problem.
How can you teach people about something that has not been revealed yet? You don't know where these things were revealed.
The Prophet ﷺ was teaching them, right? He was still alive.
But these are events that hadn't happened yet.
Correct.
I mean, you're going to war. I mean, you're getting a book here which says, listen, you need to go to war, and it's good for you to go to war. And if you do, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to keep you victorious. Don't turn your backs. Don't run away. Don't worry. I've got your back. I'll take care of you. Now, which battle is this referring to? We don't get this information. Now, the next day, you're going to the battle. Now people died. Now people did this. And you are told, well, if you get victory, if you ask. Now, how can a scholar now teach you, you will get victory if you ask? No, but hang on. If you want victory, you'll get defeat. Now, hang on. If you want victory, you'll get judgment.
The Muslims know what it's referring to because they were there at the time when the verse was revealed. So it was
which
addressing
one is the correct
specific
one?
issues at specific
so
times.
Which one is correct?
Later on, what do you mean? What's correct?
Which one is correct? If you
what
have
else
so
is
many
opposing
different
that?
versions.
I think they could just blame it stops on translations. I'm not sure that the thrust of your critique here is either that clear or that strong from their point of view. They're just going to say that the people who were with Muhammad, he was telling them this stuff as they were with him. So he told them the stuff in battle, and then afterwards he said something. There will be an accurate translation. They're just going to say, well, the Sahih one, no, that's not so good, or the other one's not so good. But once it was all revealed after 23 years, now they've got a book, and that book has stayed the same, and that's what's been taught through the ages, and look, it's all fine. So from that point of view, that's what they're going to say. Obviously you've got a point of whether this happened in the order and so on, but from their point of view, I don't think it's going to be a critique that they're going to bother about at all. It's not going to be strong from their point of view, or even give them a moment of pause, I don't think.
Here's the thing. I mean, stops. I give you credit because you do say something that not a lot of Muslims think about, and that is there are some verses that were revealed before the actual event, and some verses that are revealed during, and some verses that are revealed like after the event, right? And when the compilation committee was gathered by Uthman, they organized the Quran in a specific manner that they saw fit, right? So there is some.
That's a bit of a problem there. You don't really want to go down that route. Smart, you don't want to go down that route, right? That's really going to put you in a very dire situation.
But
Smart,
actually,
no, I mean this is. Well, I'll give you an example. The names of the surahs are. It's not like Prophet Muhammad came and said, "I'm going to give you Surah Al-Fatiha." You know what I'm saying? And it's going to have three lines of verse.
Yes.
Okay. That was compiled by the Uthman and his committee to compile.
He did actually, though. He did. He said he did actually. He talked about Al-Kitab, and Fatihat al-Kitab, and he also mentioned a number of verses in Surah Al-Fatiha. And also the Prophet ﷺ recited the Quran in the whole of in Ramadan to Jibril. And the companions heard the Sahaba reciting the Quran during Ramadan.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying that he didn't do these things. I'm just saying. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not saying
let's leave it. Let's leave it here. Because if we start discussing this, then this is a whole long story. And the last sentence that we're going to do today is the line number 20. Obey Allah and His Messenger. This is the point that Thunder was making earlier. You have the duo, which needs to be always mentioned in conjunction with each other, and both of them have equal rights here.
I think, Stops, you can say that might be the case elsewhere. Again, if you just play devil's advocate for the Muslims here, they're just going to say, well, what you're actually obeying is Allah, but by extension, His Messenger, and so they're not going to see this as a problem, or that they are co-equal or anything. When this is just a shorthand for saying, ultimately obey Muhammad, obey Allah, but Muhammad is obviously the guy that's telling us what Allah is saying. So if you obey both of them, then everything's hunky-dory. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are co-equal. That's going to be their response. And that's not totally irrational to say that, at least in these verses. But there might be other verses where you could press the point a little stronger. It doesn't seem so strong. Maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't seem so strong in the verses that I've seen here.
Right, and there is one later on where it turns around and says, and maybe Stops can remind me, I can't think of it off the top of my head, where it says it behoves anyone to challenge the Prophet and to challenge a decision decided by Allah and His Messenger. That ayah is clear that both of them have come to the same decision. And this is what I always say to people about Islam. You can't choose it or make and conclude any matter on one verse. You have to take all the verses and put them together when they're talking about a specific subject. So when these verses are talking about Allah and His Messenger, and you've got one later on to come, it behoves anyone to challenge a decision made by Allah and His Messenger. Then you can stand back and say, hold on a minute here. This is talking about a dual partnership. This is not a God and a prophet. It's very much like when Muslims say, as an example, just to conclude, where Dhul-Qarnayn saw the sun setting in a muddy pool. It was, it wasn't literal, it was figurative. He was standing at a certain angle and it looked like him. But then you've got stars that are used as missiles to chase away demons, and then you've got stars that go around the planet Earth, and they have to prostrate themselves before Allah so that so the sun can go around the Earth again, right? So when you stand back and you take all those verses, it is clear that stars are not what the Muslim interpretation of what a star is not what reality tells you what a star is. That as an example. Wow, no comment.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Mic drop.
It was a mic drop. Yeah, drop it like it's hot.
Okay, so I'm just going, but I was muted there. Sorry, I'm speaking, and I was muted there for a sec. Thunderous, I think they can just say that that's like the figure of speech, right? When it says Allah and His Messenger, what it really means is that the decision was made by Allah and it was relayed, and that's just the figure of speech that was used. When you talk about missiles, I think that's like a stronger one. And I always put myself or attempt to put myself in the Muslim's position and go, what will land with a Muslim that will give them pause for thought? And I think this particular critique is just not going to give them pause for thought. They're going to, in their mind, they're going to go, because obviously we've spoken to a lot of them. So I go, okay, what is the mindset of the person I'm speaking to? They're going to go, it was Allah that made the decision, and Muhammad was merely his mouthpiece. So when they say that Muhammad made the decision, he didn't actually make the decision. This is just rhetorical speech for saying Allah made the decision and Muhammad carried it out. But the way it was written is in this way that it's been translated, etc. So, and we can critique that, but I just think it's, for them, it's they're going to see it as like this is just a manner of speaking, not an actual critique that they are 50-50. And there's so many other things that are much more, I think, substantial that could land with a Muslim that will give them pause for thought. I could be wrong, but I just don't think that they're going to take a moment's pause on this and go, "Ooh, do you know what? Are they 50-50?" They're just going to know in their mind, or they're just going to assume that it's Allah speaking and Muhammad is following his thing, and this is just the way it's being said.
You make a fantastic Muslim apologist. You know what? I hope Muslim apologists are listening to you. They're stops and they're writing and taking notes so that when someone brings up what I've just brought up, they quote you straight away, because that's fantastic.
Yasser,
MashaAllah.
Mustafa, say again.
What will happen to this show if Rob becomes Muslim? What will happen then?
The chances of that are I'm at the 0.1 on the Dawkins scale.
I'd become Muslim.
Continue the show as a tafsir, but it would be interesting how.
Well, I'll tell you what, reactionary. If it was unveiled that we had an obelisk in Mecca, right, and that the whole thing just popped out of the ground, and I could go there and I could ask any question, it was in every language, it had been there for all time, and could tell me my entire life history from the moment I was born, all the things that no other human could possibly know, it was in my language, and any question I wanted. That would have me moving up the line quite considerably. Or indeed, if it was a worldwide revelation that everybody we could confirm through our instruments, and everybody else had the same thing, that would lead me up the line. But with this book that is so clearly man-made, and God could have done so much better, and any of us could write a better verse in virtually any one of these verses, and I've done it many times. And when I ask somebody, we could do it now, but if I ask anybody, right, and I did it before, you would have to say, no, it's not better, it's not clearer, or it's not more precise, when of course it transparently is. So I think for me, the Quran is the biggest evidence that your religion cannot possibly be true. So for me to become a Muslim, I'd have to not believe the Quran. I'd have to have something else, because the Quran is like the death nail for me.
Yeah, true. Mustafa, finally, come on.
Interesting. But everything that has been questioned so far has actually been answered from what I've seen. There is an explanation for everything. I haven't seen anything unexplained.
Let's go to
it's
Surah 411 and 412, right? Let's not go to Surah 411 and 412. That is impossible to explain. We won't go there tonight.
Okay, no.
No Muslim can do that, and no Muslim has, but we won't go there tonight.
Do yourself a favor. Go and look at chapter 5 and go to sentence number 12, and then tell me what you see there. Because it's
okay. I'll do it next time.
Mustafa,
my phone is.
Mustafa, you're trying to say something for the last 15 minutes.
I know, and I see you there's
and you're so soft.
Can you hear me properly?
Barely.
Oh, I think there might be an issue with my mic. Just one sec. Give me a second. The volume seems full here. So can you, like, you can hear me very softly?
Yes.
Oh, dear Lord.
You're coming through a little bit better. I think it stops his hearing or his headphones. I mean, you're not super loud, but you're not so soft that well, I can't hear you. I don't know about other people.
Okay, but at least you can kind of understand what I'm saying at the
I mean,
moment.
I've got a earphone in, so that maybe that helps me. But I can hear you, but you're not super loud, but you're not whispering either.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, I know there's just so many things that just went by. What I can just summarize it in is that when you open the Quran, as earlier people were saying, oh, this was not out of order. But if you really want to read the Quran in order, do you want to start at chapter 96? And that's gonna just create, like, you're gonna have to put, like, markers all over the Quran. It's like, okay, chapter 96 first, then chapter number 37, for example. Next, I don't know which word first comes next. And then, like, when you read it from, like, start to finish, the Quran, it's just so unreadable. Like, within the second chapter, you get very discouraged, or even within
that's because if you read the Quran the way it is now, out of order, it's confusing. When you read it in order, it's devastating.
Oh, yeah. In the book itself, it's even whether it's in the Arabic or the translated version, it's just so it in itself is a chore to read, because there's just within the second chapter, it just drains you so much, and that's the longest chapter too. And there's so many verses that just repeat and repeat and repeat. So, and then there's no structure. And compare that to, like, some other holy texts, at least I've seen that there is structure within those holy texts. Like, there is a narrative structure. Heck, even with the Bible, that book I find horrendous, I find a structure in there. I can follow the story. But nowhere with the Quran. With the Quran, not even close.
I think what you're saying there is just a repeat of what so many people have said over the centuries, that it is probably one of the most mishmash, confusing, incoherent books that anybody has written. And some of the people I've made comments about when they've started from the beginning, they've said it's the most wearisome, the most depressing book, the most confusing book. Some people have said they've had to take years to read it because it hurts their head trying to get through it.
And not only that, like, you have defenders of the Quran say, oh, produce something like it. And that's just repeating one of the Quran verses. It's like, what is your definition of producing something like it? I could just copy paste it.
Well, one show, I'm going to ask Stops to allow me to do it. I'm actually going to go live with that. I'm going to do my own Surah Like It challenge. I'm going to try and match it. Yeah. And I'm going to have, hopefully there'll be a panel of people on the show and listening in the audience, that when I do my Arabic Surah Like It challenge, that there's going to be an audience that's going to say yay or nay, and bring it on, Allah.
Mustafa, like, I don't think there's anybody that's memorized the Bible, from what I'm aware of.
Nobody's talking about
this. And
no, they did.
If they have, they're very few in number. All right, so
what does
millions
that
of Muslims throughout history have memorized the Quran. So this is that not a sign of the miraculous?
I know you're right. You know, that is amazing. And the telephone book is the most amazing book ever written. The telephone book must be a most amazing book ever written, because the telephone books must be memorized.
But the telephone book doesn't give you a constitution for running your society. It doesn't tell you about
like beating women and killing non-believers and how many people are going to go to hell.
It doesn't give a whole system of jurisprudence and a whole legal.
It doesn't give a whole system of jurisprudence, does it? It doesn't.
Tell you about narrations of previous societies, right? So
if it did, it doesn't give a narration of previous societies, because every one of them has been proven wrong. And as far as jurisprudence is concerned, you can't even set it up in Saudi Arabia. There isn't a country on the planet that's been able to set up Islamic jurisprudence.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was just trying to respond to Mustafa on that point, and yeah, there is a clear difference. There is no other religious book that has done what and
here's what you
stood
missed.
what the Quran has
Yeah, but
produced.
okay, if you're gonna try and compare it to the Bible on that one, let me respond by that. Daniel 2:44, Matthew 6:33. It's always been the case of in the Bible. God will set up a kingdom. It is not something that men are trying to establish themselves. Even entry-level religious understanding will help you come to that conclusion, Sunshine.
Are you going to argue that the Bible doesn't have any contradictions?
No.
I'm not here to discuss the Bible's contradictions, but if you want to meet me face to face in Oxford, we can do that.
Okay.
We can do that.
No.
Or you can do it on Discord afterwards.
Okay.
You can do it
No,
on
I didn't know you're in
Discord.
Oxford.
No, I with such a man, I like to meet face to face. I like to look such men in the eye. Then we can see how much of a Muslim he is when I say I'm an ex-Muslim and I bring up the hadith about if a man leaves his religion, kill him.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like,
So
structurally speaking, the Quran and the Bible are like, the Quran is one book. The big misunderstanding of the Bible is that it's actually a collection of books. It's a collection
66.
of 20. How many books?
66 books by 37 different men.
That's 60.
Well, depends which denomination.
And
Well, the Catholics have quite a few
666.
more books in theirs.
yeah.
Yeah, but let's not do a comparison now, right? I think the critique is against the book, and your response reaction. Well, there's a lot of people that have memorized it, and therefore your conclusion is that must mean that it's miraculous. I mean, I don't quite know how you build that bridge, because somebody's memorized something, therefore it's miraculous. That's, to my ear, it's a non sequitur. One doesn't follow from the other, and other people have pointed out that other people have memorized other books, so that can't be a criteria for it being miraculous. So you'd have
Most
to give
people don't
something
even
else.
understand it. Most people who memorize it don't even understand what they memorized. They've learned it like I did in the cellar of a Quran school, being beaten with rods to understand or read a language that they don't even understand. So that's a load of bollocks.
I've actually gone through that too.
No wonder you're so upset. You're getting beaten by rods. Oh dear.
Yeah, but I think we could venture to say that there's no human on the planet that understands it completely. And even though it tells you that it is, right? Surah 3:138. This is a clear statement for all people and a guidance and instruction for those conscious of Allah. And yet there's not a single human on this planet who can claim that they have a full understanding of this book. That is odd to me, though. I mean, is it not to you?
It's revealed in stages. There's stages.
Yeah, but how's that a response to my critique?
Like you know how you can't start body lifting 3,000 pounds right away. You have to work up to it. Same idea. You gotta go to level 99 Iman. When you reach level 99 Iman, you'll understand everything.
That's the end of level boss shit.
Yeah, but Smart Cat, is there a person on this planet that has a full understanding of this book?
There has to be at least one.
Well, you point that person out.
No, it's not
even
possible.
Reactionary agrees there isn't one.
There has to be at least one.
It's the speech of God. No.
That is not comprehensible to a single
human.
human.
Respectfully, Smart Cat. No, comprehensible, yes, but to understand it fully, I don't think so, because it's the speech of God, Almighty God, and He is beyond our capabilities of understanding.
I didn't say 1 million.
We'll understand it to the extent that we should be able to understand it, but not to its full extent.
I said at least one.
Not from all perspectives.
Does that not give you pause? Reactionary, does that not give you pause? I don't think there is a single one reactionary. Smart Cat,
to me, it's more convincing.
Pause that it's supposed to be a clear statement, and there's not a human being on earth, by your own admission, and I would agree with you, that understands this book, and it's supposed to be clear. And if you are sending a clear message, is it not for the majority of people, even of reasonable intellect, not even low intellect, let's leave those people out, or the retarded, but just a reasonable intellect that should have a full understanding, if your intention is for them to have a full understanding? Is it God's intention for us to have a full understanding of what He wants or not?
Brother, look at the mercy of God. He hasn't put that requirement on you.
But it just said so here in the Quran. I've just read it to you.
It's not a requirement you understand it. It's the mercy of God.
So you don't understand it then? Is that a mercy?
Yes.
We do
Okay, then
understand.
we have a
it,
different
but
understanding of what a mercy is, right?
No.
If I'm sending a
Yeah.
message and I want you to understand it, your view is that, hey, it's a mercy not to understand it.
No, I'm just saying, God sends me a message and I don't understand it, and He forgives me. Isn't that a mercy?
Given the
because-
given the contents of the Quran, I'm glad it's a mercy. I don't understand it.
No, but Smart Cat,
So,
it's
for
not
example,
a mercy because
Alif
he
Lam
wants you to
Mim,
understand
right?
it.
Yeah, Alif Lam Mim. Nobody
Sorry, there's too
understands
much
what that
people
means.
talking. Sorry, I don't know what's the question right now.
Yeah, so maybe
quick-
try not talking, then you can hear everyone else that's talking.
Okay, no
All right,
problem. I
Smart-
can do that.
Smart Cat, you think that it's a mercy not to understand. The book tells you, and supposedly it's Allah's intention for you to understand. How do you reconcile that? That seems contradictory to me.
No, I'm saying it's a mercy for you that you don't understand. Not me.
Do
I
you
understand.
You do?
Uh-huh.
You must be the only human on the planet that does then, because no other human understands it fully.
Come on, no. There has to be at least one.
Yeah.
Okay, what about
Okay, what's 41.1?
Smart
Give
Cat.
me
Sorry.
what is the explanation of 41.1? Give it to me. Please, you can't. Or
Smart
chapter
Cat, what
2,
does
sentence
Hamim
1,
mean?
you can't.
what about those
I can
verses
give-
that go Alif Lam Mim, Nun Lam Mim Alif? What about those verses? Could you tell me what they mean?
The teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Yeah, I mean, that's just empty rhetoric. I mean, Smart Cat, you can troll, but I think trolling is not going to work with us. I mean, you can do that as
I'm willing to work.
a comedy, but I think if you're trying to defend this, honestly and straightforwardly, then these sort of
I
things.
am,
these
but
are,
you sorry, Rob, I'll let you continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, either you understand it or you don't. But you saying that it's a mercy not to understand it is contradictory to the book. So I'm going to go with the book over your opinion. If we're trying to accept that this book is supposed to be a message, then I'm going to accept the book over your opinion, which differs from the book. Is that fair for me to do?
Sure.
Okay. Well, the book says that it sent a clear message. You're saying that it's a mercy not to understand it. And if I were a Muslim, then I would be looking at you with at least question, if not moving away from you.
Rob,
and going, hang on a
what
minute.
does that mean? What did he mean by that statement? And to me, that makes
it's
no
a mercy
sense.
not to
It's
understand.
a mercy not to understand it. Like,
So would you
What does
rather
that
God
mean?
condemn
That
you
makes no
because you
sense.
don't understand his verses?
No, I'd rather God made it super clear that every human with at least a base level IQ could understand what the message is. That's after all his intention, and it's clear that that intention is either he's lying to us and saying he wants it clear, knowing that it's not clear, or he's trying to do it and he's unable. Either way, it's God's problem, and he doesn't seem to be able to solve this, and that's a problem for you guys because the rest of us can see this, and you guys seemingly can't.
But how is it
I
a
think
problem
you're
if I've
making it
never
more than what
noticed
it
it,
is.
but you have? How is
Yeah.
it a problem for me?
What haven't you noticed?
What you're noticing. I've never noticed this. How come?
What you haven't noticed that it's unclear?
Why is
that
the problem
it
you
cannot-
recognize supposed to be a problem for me as well?
Have you read the entire Quran? Smart, have you read the entire Quran?
Sorry, from cover to cover.
Yeah. Have you?
Yes, from
Okay.
cover to
So
cover.
we just got one example here. I mean, this is a simple one. We've got one verse on the screen there. What does that mean?
But I haven't memorized it. I haven't memorized it.
No, that's
don't
fine.
ask
I'm
me
not-
if I've
I'm-
memorized it. I haven't
No,
memorized
that's fine. Can you see what's on the screen?
it. Ha mim.
Yeah. What does that mean?
It means ha and mim.
Yeah, what does that mean? I mean, repeating the
letter ha and the letter
utterances,
mim.
The guttural sounds doesn't tell us anything about what it's supposed to mean. How about I tell you this? I'm proposing that it says a joke. How do you prove me wrong?
Oh, so you're saying this ha mim means a joke to you?
Yeah, I'm proposing that's the case. How do you
The
prove me wrong?
translation, yeah.
You want me to prove that you were wrong when you proposed it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I don't think I
speculating that
can.
says it's a joke.
Yeah, I
Or
don't think
even
I
better.
can. I don't think I can disprove that you think it's a joke, but I could tell you that it's a ha and a meme. That's what I could tell you for sure.
Yeah, but
as
that
it
doesn't tell
appears.
us anything.
You said you understand everything.
Or how about this
You
one?
get-
ALM. I am joking. How do you demonstrate that I've got a faulty interpretation there?
Because you don't know
Alif Lam
Arabic.
Mim.
Yeah, well, and you should be able to construct. The people who understand Arabic know that it doesn't mean what you say it does.
Nobody knows what this means, reactionary.
Exactly,
Can you
yeah.
find somebody who knows what this means and can prove it? Anybody on earth?
It means
I challenge
Alif
you.
Lam Mim. It's exactly how it
No,
appears.
these there are a few verses. You know this already, right? There are a few surahs in the Quran which have these letters at the start, and
There's 29
there
of
is
them.
no definitive explanation of what they mean.
That's
Oh,
the
no.
point.
There is, as Muslims, we
These
do
are
believe there is some.
muqatta'at. They're
Yeah.
called muqatta'at,
Okay, and
which means the chopped ones, the severed ones, meaning that they stand alone. They are exactly what they are as they appear.
Yeah, I mean, somebody
Yeah.
can have that interpretation that's entirely subjective and unsubstantiated, right? That's not a fact of the matter. That's just somebody's opinion about this because they couldn't understand it, so they had to come up with something to say about this.
When
That's
I
not
was
impressive or informative.
Look. If I came up to you and I told you I knew the secrets of Alif Lam Mim and Ham Mam, this is occultism. This is mysticism. This is cultish behavior. But when
Yeah,
I'm
but you know
telling
how
you that it means as it appears, Alif means Alif, Lam means Lam, you're telling me I'm the ridiculous one?
No, what I'm saying
when I was growing up, I was told that these letters were actually miracles. These are the miracles of the Quran.
everybody has a different
Arab,
opinion.
It's the
I think
alphabet.
Arabs understand it as a miracle. Like you have to understand
Alphabet.
at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Arabs were masters of their language. I mean, they had reached a pinnacle in Arabic, and they had no problem accepting these letters as being distinct and standing on their own, as the brother just said, as being what they call muqatta'at. Like this, to them, if there was a problem, if anybody would have had a problem with it, it would have been the Arabs.
So you'll
They'll
agree
say, oh,
then
why are
that
you bringing 3 letters that mean nothing?
there are 27 odd ayah in the Quran that just have these letters and nobody knows what they mean, and this is a book made clear and a book easy to understand.
There have been
but
some
how do
people
you
who tried
claim a
to
miracle?
explain, for example, Taha,
Reaction?
right? Taha, there's a verse called, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, you finish. You wanted to say somebody's trying to explain this. Go on.
Oh yeah, so for example, Surah Taha, it starts off with 2 letters, Taha. Now, some people try to explain it to mean that Taha is actually a name of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? But that's not something we can rely upon because it hasn't been confirmed. So what we do with these letters, we just accept them as what they are, and we don't know the meaning behind them, but we just accept them. And the Arabs, who were the masters of their language, accepted them. If anybody would have taken an issue with it, it would have been them.
Can I ask you a question? May I ask you a question on this? Right, this book is a book made clear, a book easy to understand, a book of guidance. Let's assume, right, you die tonight. You've read the Quran, right? You read the Quran, and let's assume you understand what it means. After your death, are you not going to, when you're facing before Allah and he asks you, who was your God, who was your prophet, what was your religion, are you not going to be asking him, well, what was all that about the letters in the Quran? What, those 27 odd ayah that just had letters, what was the purpose of that? Do you not see the whole futile pointlessness of them?
Not quite.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Look, this is a silly question because that's like me saying, if you die as a Hindu and you stand in front of Vishnu, are you going to ask him why you have 8 arms instead of 2? Or if I was a Christian, I'm going to get, why did you die on the cross and why didn't you die on a stake?
No, that's totally different. We're talking about 27 odd ayah in the Quran that nobody knows what they mean. I'm just trying to understand if it's a book made clear, a book isn't easy to understand, a book for all humanity to learn from, and there are 27 verses in the Quran that nobody knows any meaning of, and everyone's going to face judgment. I'm asking the question, what was the point of Allah revealing those 27 verses in the first place if most of the Muslim world post Muhammad's death don't understand what those 27 verses mean?
Yeah, but Thunder, ask in a different way. What is the guidance in ALM?
Look, you don't have to know that as a Muslim.
Reactionary.
There is Alif Lam Mim. In the Prophet ﷺ, just reciting the letter you get rewarded for it as a Muslim. It's an act of worship.
What is the guidance?
Reactionary.
This is woohoo.
Reactionary.
Come on, guys.
Yes,
reactionary. They're having a hard time understanding alphabet.
Yeah, but reactionary, you went
could
a
say
step
it's
further.
a sign of mercy, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you read a verse, if you read a verse in the Bible,
yes,
if you read a verse in the Bible, or you read a verse in the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, where it was just letters of their alphabet repeated 20 odd times, you'd be mocking those religions. Say, look at your book, your God can't communicate. Look, it's just letters in Sanskrit, just the letters of the alphabet that are incoherent. Or look at you Jews, you're looking at the Hebrew language with letters of the alphabet. Or look at you Christians, look at you've got 20 odd verses with just letters of the Greek alphabet in there. You'd be mocking those religions.
Okay,
no, because they don't have them. They don't have them. And you do mock them, but you don't have those. You don't have that joke to mock them with. I'm asking you.
Look, I will
the
mock.
Quran prevents us from mocking other religions.
Well,
So,
what did
what
Muhammad's mate say? Go suck the clitoris of Allah. So yeah, you're right. Muhammad didn't mock. I wonder which clitoris he was asking the other person.
Let's just stick on the topic of these verses, shall we? But the reaction, you went a step further. You even said that they were a miracle. How do you define a miracle? So something that's incomprehensible is a miracle to you?
The thing is, right, the unseen, in the world of the unseen, we don't know what's going on. Maybe reciting these verses has some impact that we don't recognize. And I'll tell you, there are people who study music and the vibrations of audio waves and the effects these have on the body. Different frequencies generate different types of effects. Who knows? I haven't looked at. There may even be a scientific explanation. When you recite Alif Lam Mim, it has certain harmonious effects on your body that we don't know. We haven't recognized yet, right? There may be some.
They're certainly having a harmonious effect on people in France at the moment.
Okay, let's leave this.
Reactionary.
I help the Muslims in France from the oppression.
Yeah,
Rob, why did you
can teach?
Was this a claim?
Yeah, to me, reactionary and to Smart Cat, this looks like a contradiction, right? So here you have 223 and 224, and I'm putting it to you that it seems like a contradiction. This is one of the verses, and Stops had the other ones that's in the private chat there. Produce the surah like it, produce the chapter like it. But then in the very next verse, which no Muslim ever tells you, but if you do not, and you never will, then fear it.
If you
so
do,
this is
if you try it.
Yeah. Well, even if you tried, but you never will be able to. The key part is you will never be able to. If I gave, so let me ask Reactionary and Smart Cat, and you give us your view. If I said to you, write a sentence like this, but you will never be able to do it, is that a coherent thing for me to request of you?
The challenge was put out there for the Arabs, and in fact they attempted to come with their versions of poetry which they thought could challenge the Quran, but
that's nonsense.
They recognized they couldn't.
But that's fine.
And we're talking about the masters of the language.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you here is that this is Allah speaking, isn't it? And He's saying that you will never be able to do it. And yet He's asking people, or supposedly challenging people. If the challenge is impossible, is that a coherent challenge? Because we get this, and I'm not saying you've done it, maybe you have, but what I'm pointing out so clear as day that anybody who's paying attention can see this. If you put out a challenge that by God's own standard is not possible, how is that a coherent or moral even challenge to put forward?
It's perfectly. I don't see any issue with the statement. It's a perfectly acceptable challenge. It's stating a fact.
It's
right?
like It's like asking me, you can live, but you're not allowed to experience life.
No, that's a terrible analogy. Look at the sentence. Can you see the,
Yeah.
the sentence, Smart Cat? And there's three interpretations. They're all virtually the same, or close enough. That's not a problem for any of them. The challenge supposedly is make a surah like it, but if not, you do. Okay, well that's just the corpus. That's the direct word for word. But if you do not, and you never will be, and you will never be able to. This is God saying you will never be able to do it, but have a go. Is that a coherent challenge to any human?
Very merciful God we have. We can challenge him, and he won't get mad at us.
That's not the question I'm asking. Is this a substantial challenge, or is this a joke, or is this irrational? What is this?
I think God allowing us to experience life.
You've gone very soft. I don't know what's happened there with your mic.
Sorry, I think it's God asking us to experience life.
To experience life, did you say?
Yes. He's saying, go live your lives, challenge me.
Okay, so when a Muslim says that this is a challenge, can I point them to you and say, you're talking nonsense? Smart Cat has refuted you. He's saying that what it really means is go and live your life. Are you happy for me to say that?
It's go live your life. Go live your life. That's the challenge. You know, it's like...
Doesn't say
it's
that
like
in
you
the
can
Quran,
challenge God in any way you want.
It says produce a chapter like it or a surah like it. That's what it's saying.
Okay,
It doesn't say anything about a life.
Think about the ramifications of this challenge. He's saying, you know, try to be like me. Try to be like God. You know, it's like Carl Sagan saying, if you want to create an apple pie, you got to create...
You're breaking up there.
May I ask, do you guys actually think that the Quran, its linguistics, its composition, its rhyme and prose, that this is actually a miracle? Do you believe it's a miracle?
I mean, is it a miracle? I don't know. I never looked at it as a miracle. I looked at it as a tool to engage the spiritual realm. So is that considered a miracle? I don't know.
Some Muslims would consider the Quran in the way that it's written as such as being a miracle. What about reactionary? Do you consider it a miracle?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. This might make you laugh, but I consider life to be a miracle. So what does that mean about me? Like a person like me, a mentality like mine. If I consider life to be a miracle, why would it be difficult for me to consider?
Yeah.
It's not the question I'm asking. So reactionary, do you consider...
Can I just, sorry, I want to say thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on. I need to jump off. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the conversation, guys. Take care.
No problem.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a nice day. Hello, guys.
Okay. I guess we're done for the day?
Yeah, I think it's past we're hitting the 3-hour mark at this point.
You're coming through quite soft there, Mustafa. Stops, do you want to give us a hadith
no
of
wonder
the day?
I haven't been able to... Can you guys still hear me pretty clearly? Like, can you hear me?
Yeah,
go back afterwards and watch the stream, watch the recording and see what comes through. Then you can hear it. I also seem to be soft. I don't know why.
You're better than
it
Mustafa,
changes
so that's
from
fine.
browser to browser, and I never know what's happening. Okay, are we done? Are we ready? Then I will close down the Gin and Tonic show for today. It's been a very spirited discussion, which I enjoy. If anybody wants to have any suggestions for the following episodes, please feel free. Thank you very much to the chat. If you have anything that you want to tell us, please do so. Thank you very much to the panel here, and thank you very much for all those who joined. Thank you also to a reaction. You had to leave now. I was a little bit disappointed in him because normally he came through quite coherent, and today, I don't know, maybe he's had a bad day. So I'm going to close it down with the hadith of the day, and then you guys can comment on this. It's a very short one. It's in half a sentence, and I don't understand it, so maybe you can help out. It's by Abu Huraira, of course. It's from Bukhari 882, and it's 808. The Prophet said, "The boy is for the bed, and the stone is for the person who commits illegal sexual intercourse."
Wait, what?
The
Okay.
Prophet said, "The boy is for the bed, and the stone is for the person who commits illegal sexual intercourse."
Okay, I get that the second part is making a reference to stoning to death as a punishment, but what's with the boy? What's with the boy in the first one?
I agree with your first assessment, but I don't know what the boy is. The boy is for the bed. That's why I said I don't understand it. I quite openly admit I don't understand it.
Wait, what's the hadith reference? Can you give it to me?
882, 808.
808. This is Bukhari?
Yeah.
Is there a Discord tonight?
Am I missing something? Are we done, or is somebody speaking? It's complete silence.
I think SmartCat is looking it up to verify this because this is such a weird one.
Yeah, this is such a weird hadith. I'm looking for it too.
Okay, I just need to push click. Unable to open WUSC. Oh shit. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say good night now while you guys fiddle about a bit. It's getting on a bit late now. So thank you very much to everybody. Good night to
Have a good night,
everybody, and
Rob.
we'll catch up
Good
again
night,
soon.
Rob. Pleasure with
Thanks,
you
Rob.
tonight. Thank you.
And this will find a different kind of what you would call it video for next week. But actually, we have to. Yeah, it should actually work.
Can you say the reference again, Stops?
Okay, I've got it here. Where's 808? 806, 807, 808. No, this is exactly what it says. Can I put a picture? Yes, I can. If I do this, I do this.
Oh, perfect.
I do this. I put this here. It's only a matter of hours. Okay, here we go. StreamYard, where are you? I need to do this, take this out, put this here, and put me on exclusive. There you can read it.
Okay, there we go. There we go. So this is volume 8. 2. The Prophet said, "The boy is for the bed, the owner of the bed," in the brackets. And the stone is for the person who commits illegal.
Hang on, I'm just seeing that above this, there are more of them which seem to be more detailed.
Yeah, there's the one above it.
Okay, let me do the following. Let me do the same thing, but take one above and one below.
Yeah.
And give you this one, and then see if you can make more sense of it. Check, check, check. There you go.
Okay, so here we have.
Can you scroll up? Scroll up a little bit.
What I can do is do this and... no, I can't. How do I go up here?
Oh, dear.
Hello? I don't know how to. I can make it bigger, but then I don't know how to go and make this. Zoom. No, I don't want that. How can I? Crop. What happens if I crop this? Nah.
Here we go.
Okay, I can't get this.
Saad bin Abi Waqas and Abdul Zamar quarreled with each other regarding a child. The Prophet said, "The boy is for you, O Abdul Zamar, for the boy is for the bed, for the O Soda. Screen yourself from the boy." The sub-narrator, Al-Layth, added, the Prophet also said, "And the stone is for the person who commits an illegal sexual intercourse." So there's a quarrel over a boy, and this is still not very, very clear. It's very vague.
Okay, there's only two ways I can see it.
Yeah.
All right. It seems like based on the two narrations, it seems like there's a reprimanding going on or an encouragement going on.
The boy is for you. And,
Because it says, screen yourself from the boy.
Yeah.
So meaning there has to be a separation.
Separate yourself from the boy.
So there's some funny business going on with a boy, and Prophet Muhammad is like, don't do that, or you're going to get stoned. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, it seems very like, the text itself, like.
Well, Muhammad, bear in mind, Muhammad did once, suck a boy's tongue, or let the boy suck his tongue, remember?
That was Ali, though. That was Ali in one of the seerahs. And even then, now, certain Shia Muslims don't consider it very authentic, but at the same time, it was very odd that he would put his tongue down Ali, then Ali would suckle him, So, especially the way it's described. Someone argued that might have been.
It's how they used to. What do you call it? Increase the immune system.
Saliva increases the immune system.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
It's for to pass on.
Okay, guys, I think we're going to leave it here.
Yeah.
All right, we can do our research in private. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining. Brilliant. I really loved it. It's good to have so many people here to talk a little bit and to talk about other things as well. So there we go. Thank you, guys, in the chat. We'll see you.
Good night to everybody.
Good morning, good evening, and good night to wherever you are.
And we'll see you next week on the Jinn and Tonic Show. Good night. Good night. Good night.